No, I muted myself for a very specific reason that some of you may find out later. Sorry for doing a muted stream, and yeah. Turkey Day, yes. Evil mute Chris. Yeah, no, it's not you. I fixed it. Sorry, I keep having this issue as well. Oh, no. There we go. It's fixed. Don't know what was causing that. Very strange. Leftist audio. Yeah, this is what happens amongst leftists. What's up, Chris in chat? Yeah, not much. Not much. I was saying it's been like a slow few news days. Like, this is the main news. Like, you know, it's not been all that much happening. I guess the Russia and Ukraine stuff is, like, pretty major, but even that has kind of slowed. And then apparently there's someone being arrested over the synagogue attack. I don't know what that is. But yeah, I guess this is it. And then it's just like floods and natural disasters, which are, you know, troubling. Hostage handovers, the Pope Mobile becoming a health thing. Glad that overlay works for YouTube. Shit, yeah. Oh, wait. Is the overlay working? Natural disaster. Oh, it is working. It just doesn't show in OBS for some reason. Seize the means of recording. Please don't take away my PC. I don't want it. But yeah, the overlay is working, so that's cool. Right, we're going on Wordle. You know how it is. Start the stream as we mean to go on. The other thing I could do is react to Hassan on trigonometry to pass the time, but I don't know. I've just guessed Frank, and I don't know why. Resty. Good morning, happy afternoon to everyone. Hello, everyone. I need to turn it off. Chat the thing. Also, you guys are gonna love one of the improvements, but you're gonna need to wait to hear it. Oh, I know what I'll try. Wrist. Oh no, I won't. Wrist. No, I wanted to go risky. Then I'm thinking of prime. I want to guess that, even though it's not a real world. Remix? No, remit? Let's try that. Oh, that was pretty good. That was pretty fucking good. I just want to say, that was pretty good there. Wordle in 3 today. Come on. And then I'll do the connect... No, that's not the right thing. I would like to do the crossword, but no. Soundboard. No, it's not a soundboard. You'll like it, though. That's just the universal British experience. In 2025, a slow news day is a shooting in DC. Yeah, I guess. I just mean in terms of international news, which is generally what I focus on more. Part of me thinks sometimes I should, like, work on just planning videos for when there's slow days to do live. But you know what? There are some pretty interesting, like, was he in the CIA? And yeah. Yeah, I've decided. Oh, wow. Did it work?
It is utterly ridiculous.
There we go. There we go. Oh, my goodness. That's what I was waiting for you guys to see. Coffee lover, thanks for the $5. 'Tis the season for giving, and I'm giving you coffee money. I got to go for some halal USDA approved turkey soon. Later, Christopher. See you later. Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. I hope you have a lovely rest of the day and enjoy your Sharia law USDA woke chemical chicken. I'm just using interesting. I mean, a lot of the shit going on in Canada. There's some crazy shit going on in Quebec that I've been told about. I hope you all have a good one, despite the colonialist holiday. Yeah, I mean, it has some pretty unfortunate origins. What did you think of the new system of the donations? By the way, I think it's pretty good. Was it too loud or anything? I'm thankful for your streams. I'm thankful for people enabling me to stream. But yeah, I may debut the sexy bug VTuber business. I'm thinking of getting into it. I heard it's quite lucrative. Right. Okay. Downloads. Avalanche. Swelling Sea. Reading the comment section on CNN and other mainstream sources, and it's flooded with people blaming Trump and calling it a false flag. Yeah, I think that there are very troubling things going on in the world right now. By the way, I don't think it's a false flag, but I do think there is something to say about him working for the CIA, you know? In the sense of, like, hey, maybe it's not a good idea to go and allow, like, people to have blank checks to go and commit war crimes. I don't know. Don't even start on Quebec law. Ontario also just passed a bill basically attacking tenants' rights. Fucking hell. Music, files, hurdle, avalanche, outpouring, torrent, and a tidal wave, I think, go together. Yes! Yes. Yeah. I don't know if you heard that. It's me now saying utterly ridiculous as the thing that appears. How does the chat look as well? Yes, Piers Morgan was doing some great stuff. Oh, the chat. Wait, the chat needs to go stream labs. I need to fix the chat for a second. I can probably fix it live. Fuck it. Right, do some chatting now. Now, please, do your chatting. Is it working? Join the Discord. Yes, there are amazing things happening in the Discord. Sorry. Hurdle. No, right. Desktop. Is the chat looking better? Why is it not showing up for me? Hold on. Yeah, that's what we needed. I wanted it to show like that. Yeah. Thank you. Desktop. Right. Sorry, I'm just checking it all works. It's the thing of getting used to a new streaming setup. Harpenden. Isn't that from Peep Show? Maduro paid you to chat. Damn. I guess I want it just like off there. Yeah, that's perfect. I also feel like my camera has been off for a few days. By the way, none of you have noticed. Look, I got new glasses. More words. Carpentry tools, router, files, drill saws. Drill saws, files, routers. What's a router? Downloads, documents, desktop, music. All things preloaded onto your PC. Oh. And there we go. Swelling C, spelling bee, hurdle, wordle, grands, and confections, connections. Grands is which? Strands. I don't even know what fucking strands is. What is strands? Oh, I'm not doing this. This is too much for me. Too complex. I'm too hot right now.
It is utterly ridiculous.
Chris learns the true meaning of Muslim Christmas. Thanks again, Coffee Lover. Yeah, the Muslim Christmas, the Sharia law Christmas. I believe a router is for cutting channels in the top of materials. Amazing. I've never knew that. Right. Okay. What was I? Sorry, my thing's all a bit of a mess. Oh yeah, we have amazing things going on with Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan has been on like a decent run. I mean, it doesn't change who and what he is, though.
There's been no starvation, correct?
No,
You don't acknowledge
I
that.
don't acknowledge that.
Where are the videos and images of the starving Gazans?
Well,
And-
I've seen a lot, but you would dismiss them all as fakes. The UN says there was starvation, but you guys don't believe a word the UN says. The other official bodies say there was starvation. You don't want to hear a word they say. Israel denies everything. You can say that no Gazan has starved at all. The reports...
Piers Morgan becomes more woke than Loner Box? Question mark. It's during the spin war in Peep Show. Toast Mug says harpened and rip pig in tea break. I do remember that. And yeah, new alerts. Apparently the American left has split over Mamdani. That's kind of news. I guess I just haven't prepped that specifically for any recent updates on it. Piers is a contrary. Oh, 100%. I don't think Piers has become like woke at all. I think he's still a horrible character.
By almost every official body say the opposite, but you don't believe them. However, the best way to get to the truth is let journalists who are used to covering in war zones, let them go in and do their job, particularly now we have the ceasefire. There is a...
This is also why, by the way, I would bother just trusting the Palestinian narrative over Israel's narrative, because ultimately Israel's claims, they are the ones who have continually refused to allow journalists in. Morgan goes with the wind. Yeah, I don't think you're wrong about that. Why has the propaganda against Palestinians seemingly gotten worse recently? Because Israel is in this horrible, untenable position, and what are its options? Just continually propagandize and demonize Palestinians more and more.
reason the Israeli government is not letting the media in. They are terrified about what the world will uncover.
I just think that's just...
Well, let them in.
I just think...
There's one way to find
But
out.
a lot of them look fat. They have fresh clothes
I've
and
seen
fresh
lots of
haircuts.
images of Palestinians looking hungry.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't dispute that 20,000 plus children have died, right?
So whose fault is that? I mean,
Why was there a cut there? Wait, I want to find this actual YouTube video. I remembered when I saw this earlier. I wanted to see Piers Morgan with Dave Rubin.
Piers Morgan.
It's just the Majority Report reacting to this.
I interview Candice a lot. I find it incredibly... She's very bright. She's very...
Woke is dead.
Net
What comes
migration in
next is
2000
far worse. Wow.
hungry.
yeah.
And you wouldn't dispute that 20,000 plus children have died, right?
So whose fault is that? Because this seems to be the one.
Tokyo Hands, thanks for the 5 gifted memberships. Fuck, the gifted memberships still isn't working. Thank you so much, though, Hans. The gifted memberships is meant to play the same sound.
That most people
But yeah, thanks to all the new members. Greatly appreciated, Hans.
are annoyed at you about, because you keep saying proportionate. That's the word that has bothered me with this. So what if someone killed your wife and your daughter and kidnapped your son and raped and pillaged your whole community and all that stuff? What would be your proportionate response?
Well, you've got to get it
that?
into the context of why I criticised what happened. I do believe the 3-month blockade earlier this year was a criminal blockade. I believe it was deliberate starvation of a people, deliberately denying them food and aid. If you
Has any other country in the history of the world been told to feed the people that
if you
are
look at the
killing
Geneva
it?
Convention,
And,
actually, but then no other country in the world has had the control that Israel has over Gaza, right?
Well,
Which again is a whole separate issue, isn't it?
Egypt could open the door.
Of course it
But also, once again, Egypt is like an authoritarian country that collaborates with Israel. Like, I don't know why this is so hard to understand.
could, and it should. And it should. I don't dispute that for a moment.
annoyed at it.
Racists used to have a little shame or fear, maybe. Probably not on the topic of Palestine. I think people have always been comfortable saying very crazy shit about Palestinians. Sorry, I also really hate the fucking, like, the stand or mount that came with this camera. It just feels bad. Oh no, that feels a little better. Is that a better angle for you guys?
I don't dispute that for a moment.
Yeah.
And look, I've always supported Israel and its right to exist. And when this happened, October the 7th...
Also, by the way, the problem isn't actually as well that Israel is not being allowed to feed Palestinians. The core issue and why it's not working is because Israel is refusing to allow UNRWA to feed Palestinians and other countries. Like, what is this argument here?
One of the worst things I've ever seen, and I steadfastly supported Israel's right to defend itself, and I still do. However, I kept asking from early on, what would be a proportionate response?
But
right?
Who has ever been asked to have a
Well, in the
proportionate
history-
response?
well, let me ask you-
So they should have murdered 1,000 people and raped women.
Let me throw it back at you.
Yeah.
In the history of the Israel-Palestine conflict,
Yeah.
75 years or so,
Yeah.
there has never been a response from either side to an atrocity by the other. Both sides claim the other side's committed atrocities, right?
Also, I really love how you can just draw this fake equivalence and think that you sound like a sensible person. Like, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry on this topic. But, like, how would you ever draw an equivalency between what Israel has done and what Palestinians have done? And just by the way, on what you're actually saying about how things are going so quickly in the news cycle, 100%. Unfortunately, this is kind of trying to, like the problem of trying to analyze or get really anything out of the Trump administration. You can't predict week to week. Although, if I had to predict something that was going to happen, like, I'm not really surprised that someone who worked alongside the CIA and probably carried out war crimes in Afghanistan carries out like an attack. Who knows why? Perhaps they were mentally disturbed. Perhaps they had disdain for like doing so much for the Americans and they're being kind of hung out to dry. So yeah.
Never been a response, anything on this scale. So we had, on October the 7th, 1,200 people were killed. We had nearly 7,000 more wounded. We had 255, 6 people who were kidnapped, including a baby, including Holocaust survivors. Absolutely horrific.
Okay.
But the reason I asked about proportionality, show me another moment in the 75-year conflict where the response has been to kill 60 times as many people, and where you have well, hang on, let me finish. Where you have a government.
Well, Sabra and Shatir, Israel just carried on killing and dominating other human beings.
With people like Smodrich and Ben-Gvir, who begin publicly, openly talking about ethnically cleansing all the Palestinians from Gaza, about annexing the West Bank, about taking complete control of all of it, to the point that Donald Trump had to step in and say that is not happening, and credit to him for doing that.
Sure,
so
but random ministers
they're not
talking
random ministers.
about,
They're
but
they are.
senior.
It's also so funny because it's not just them. But Netanyahu has talked about voluntary migration. Also, bellend is something I've never heard in my life. Really? Wow, yeah, bellend is quite a common insult. Also, by the way, does the chat seem to be working? Because for some reason it seems to me like it's just showing one message at a time, unless they're really quickly in succession. So maybe I need to fiddle with that. Someone tell me.
People in the government.
No, but them talking about things is different. I mean,
I hear that a lot.
But is there literally, can you name one Palestinian leader, either Fatah or Hamas, that isn't for a complete genocide? Is there?
Fatah literally accepted Israel's right to exist. By the way, you know, in the 1970s, Yasser Arafat said to Bill Clinton that he was ready to negotiate alongside Israel, that he was like 100% really willing to negotiate with Israel on the basis of having a state. Like, that's it. Right, okay, so you're saying it's delayed. Hold on, I'll fix it.
There isn't in for a complete genocide.
Yeah, of the Israeli people. Is there one? Can you name one Palestinian leader that isn't for a complete genocide of every
we under no
Jew?
illusion about what I think about Hamas, for example. I think Hamas are a despicable terror group.
But so what would its proportional response
so my
be?
point, my point is this. You have a unique population in Gaza where half of them are under 18. There is a unique proportion of kids in this part of the world, right? So at what point do you try and find a different way to resolve this? It turned out that Donald Trump found a different way to do it, right?
Piers Morgan is just amazing. It's just amazing. Like, just can't help himself but bootlicking Trump. They fade by default. You can just, I think it's working differently.
It is utterly ridiculous.
In all seriousness, it's awesome that in recent years we are seeing a major collapse of Israel support. 2010 me would have never believed this. Yeah, 100%. And whatever all of their, like, amazing supporters say and think about, you know, Israel, whatever they say and think about it, one thing that they'll never, ever, ever be able to change is Israel has been hauled before the International Court of Justice, accused of genocide. It's also kind of a resurgence of a different era of, like, liberationary solidarity from groups like, you know, South Africa and Palestinians. You know, it comes back to like a very different era. And yeah, when I believe they call it bum licking, boot licking. But yeah, thanks for the $5 as always, Coffee Lover. And I'm loving the new emote sound. It's annoying that I can't get it to come on the other thing.
Trump did not agree with Israel continuing to just level Gaza to the floor. He did not agree with Ben-Gvir and Smotrich saying kick all the Palestinians out.
It's actually so funny because initially Trump categorically agreed with this. The plan has just basically evolved to Trump won't openly enunciate it, but it moves towards it is the basic plan.
He wants to rebuild Gaza now and make it a prosperous place for Gazans to live.
It's also, once again, here's where it ends with Piers Morgan. I think at a certain point you have to see how ridiculous that is and to just be like, yeah, Trump doesn't want these things to happen. Bro, he sold Netanyahu the weapons. He's surrounded by the people that have literally enabled and made this happen.
Right, but he also wants a two-state solution, which I don't think Netanyahu wants in a million years. Right,
well, so, I don't know that Trump wants a two-state solution.
Well, I think I don't
think he's
I think ultimately, if he could achieve it where you can protect the security of Israelis, he would.
Yeah,
because it's the only way this ever.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I hadn't heard this bit.
Gets resolved.
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with that.
You don't?
The Palestinians already have a state. It's called Jordan. They have a majority Palestinian population. They're ruled over in a actual apartheid by the Hashemite king. But nobody wants
an actual apartheid by the Hashemite king. Wow. Also, by the way, Palestinians rejected living in Jordan over and over again. They didn't want to. This kept being affirmed in the 1980s that they didn't want to be ruled as part of Jordan. They said that they'd have relationships with Jordan, but yeah.
About that, right?
This is how people in Northern Ireland used to talk, right?
Yeah.
On both sides, you'd have implacable positions. We can never do peace with these people. They're terrorists. They'd all the loyalists and the IRA called themselves terrorists for 7 decades, right? And eventually, you had new clear thinking by Bill Clinton, by Tony Blair, by Senator Mitchell, and we managed to get to peace that nobody thought was achievable amongst warring people who lived amongst each other.
Sure, but how many?
Very similar to the Gaza-Israel border.
But how many times should the Israelis offer peace? I mean, I'm sure.
This is also such a funny statement because Israel has just never been willing to respect basic international law, and it's always used claims of desires for security as a means to annex Palestinian territory. Like, it's always what it's done. Also, I think I might need to change the shape and size of the chat, maybe. I don't know, but we'll see.
Well, where Bill Clinton says his biggest failing was getting Arafat to not accept.
And I think Arafat,
they've been offered, 10 times.
Arafat should have taken that deal. Yeah. I'm completely with Bill Clinton.
It's also so funny as well because, by the way, Arafat could never have taken that deal. He could have never, ever, 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 ever taken that deal. How would he have gone back to the Palestinians and told them, no East Jerusalem, Israel gets to violate international law, basically no right of return of Palestinians, I got you nothing. Like nothing. Because the reason Oslo was accepted was on the basis that it was an interim agreement and the main issues of Palestinians would be addressed. Yeah, no, I was just watching it because there's been like a framing of like, got to agree with Piers here. But the second you actually let Piers Morgan talk for longer than 30 seconds, you realise this guy's awful.
But again, what is a proportionate response?
I don't know.
So what would you demand if your wife was
if I'm
murdered?
An Israeli, here's my question: if I'm an Israeli, or if I'm a Jew living out of Israel around the world, right? And I was in New York recently. More Jews live in New York than live any Jewish community outside of Tel Aviv. I've read.
Not much longer.
Huh?
Not much longer.
We'll see.
They're going to move here.
Yeah. But
listen, Dave Rubin really wants that. Dave Rubin really wants it. He's hoping. Bro is addicted to hopium that all Jewish people are going to leave New York to live in fucking Tel Aviv, which has never happened, and it just will not happen. There are a few fanatics who are going to be like saying, oh, we've got to leave and blah, blah, blah. And I'm sure that there's many people who'll talk about the need that they have to leave. But I think that ultimately people won't do it because why would you uproot your whole life over Mamdani, whose term will last, what, like 4 or 5 years? How long does Mamdani's term last? 4 years.
Look at it. I think, do they feel safer by what's happened or do they feel less safe? I would argue that the conduct and the way that the Israeli government has waged this war, particularly this year, has actually inflamed hatred of the Israeli government, but also, by association, Israel, Israelis, and Jewish people. I don't think it's made them more secure. I think it's made them less secure. So in all wars, Dave, at some point, you have to have a political solution. The only solution that seemed to be being offered by Netanyahu, Ben-Gvir, Smotrich, and the others was to raise Gaza to the floor and to expel all Palestinians. So, thankfully, Donald Trump sees it.
God, this guy loves Donald Trump. And by the way, Donald Trump does not have some like great vision for Palestine, as this guy, as Piers Morgan feels the need to claim over and over again. Not the case. He just wants to exploit Palestinians and allow them to carry out the expulsion anyway. It's just he won't allow them to do it instantaneously because that's a bad idea for Israel's image. He's just, they're not, like, look into the plan. None of it really makes sense. And by the way, you do know that there's like plans to cook up a Gaza cryptocurrency. Apparently Hamas victims' families are suing Binance because apparently that's how Hamas was trending money. But yeah, these people were cooking up a Gaza cryptocurrency.
From way, and I thank God that he does, because this had to end.
I think you're having a disconnect between what Bibi and Trump think. I think they're completely aligned on this.
Netanyahu would annex West Bank tomorrow.
Yeah, and Trump doesn't care. You're like allowing people in your government to call it Judea and Samaria is such a clear movement towards settling in it. Yeah, cryptocurrency for Palestine. Hold on, I'll find the article because I couldn't find it actually as easily as I thought I could. No, okay. Hold on.
It is utterly ridiculous.
Only the beautiful will read this chat. Thank you, Tokyo Hands, for that 500 yen. I'm going to be going on a spending spree in Japan with that. Maybe I'll invest in some crypto. Hold on, let me see. Okay, maybe it was the New York Times Trump Gaza. Yeah, it's definitely in this. Listen to this.
It is utterly ridiculous.
Oh, why did Chris read this chat? That is a horrible thing to say, Tokyo Hands. I hear myself saying it is utterly ridiculous, and then you've used it to attack me. But yeah, I will be spending my my Japanese yen on square watermelons and crypto. Oh my god, as well, there's some crazy stuff in this. So first of all, they have kicked around ideas ranging from new Gaza cryptocurrency, how to rebuild the territory in such a way that it has no traffic. Like, what, these people are staying in like $700 hotels in one of the most beautiful parts of the world, just doing the most stupid shit that you could imagine. Like, genuinely. Wait, what was I going to find? There's something I really wanted to find in here. Oh, God. Oh, yeah. Listen to this as well. His team includes an eclectic, fluctuating group of American diplomats, Israeli magnates, and officials from the Department of Governmental Efficiency. The Israeli plan is being organized by the weirdos that Musk put into power.
He's been in power for 20-something years. He could have done it at any point. Notice he hasn't. I mean,
come on.
But he hasn't.
But it's like the argument we haven't dropped an atomic bomb on Gaza, therefore, obviously,
well, if they wanted
fair
to,
in love and war, right?
No, well, there's a couple things here. I mean, first off, I don't think any country in the world has ever been asked to feed the people that are holding its hostage, right?
Once again, it's not being asked to feed them. Because it is the occupying power, it is being asked to let aid in. The problem has been that they have starved continually.
Like, have you ever called for any other country to do that, or anyone?
Well, okay,
has anyone ever called for that?
Well, British prisoners of war in World War II were fed.
Yeah. But
what's the difference?
What?
The Nazis also made calculations around who to feed, by the way, which is a really interesting topic that I found out about not long ago. So the Nazis would choose basically to exterminate most people who were young, who had family members, and then they would keep around young men based on the calculation that three men fed 1,500 calories a day would be far less useful than one man fed 4,500 calories a day who had no immediate family members with him. So if, he didn't have to see them killed and stuff, but the Nazis fed people. They didn't feed all people, obviously.
Prisoners of war in World War II were fed, so what's the difference?
Because they were holding hostages. They're holding their people. I mean, to me, it seems that you as a British citizen,
British people being held hostage in
but
Nazi prisons.
you as a British citizen, if French terrorists came in and killed what the equivalent would be, it would be many more than 1,200. But let's say they killed 10,000 British people, and they took your wife and killed your daughter. Would you be calling for a proportionate response?
No, but
it depends. It also completely is a different context of like, why would the French be invading us? Like, for not being able to pronounce cafe correctly or something, or the bastardization of their language, or revenge for Agincourt.
Or would you say, whatever the fuck you have to do to get my wife back?
You should never ask what somebody who's just lost their family would do in that situation. Obviously, they're going to be speaking from a totally different
Well, I'm asking you, hypothetically, if they literally took your wife.
Yes, but I don't think it matters what I think is the grieving father or husband of people who've just been slaughtered.
By the way, also, this is a really funny thing because, like, this is just based on your own personal opinion. Whilst they may not have made up the majority, there were still quite a few or multiple Israelis who were like, nah, I think we should just make peace, who lost family members and had them there.
Government should be above that. They have to take a decision which takes everything into account. And the question I come back to is, do you believe that Israel is now a safer or less safe place for Israelis and Jews than it was before?
Way safer.
Is it?
They're external. They're external enemies. I mean, that's empirically true. They're external enemies, from Iran to Hezbollah to the Houthis. They're basically destroyed.
You know, there've been reports that for every Hamas fighter that's been killed, terrorist I call them, for every Hamas terrorist that's been killed, they reckon they've been replaced.
Terrorist, as I call them, real groundbreaking stuff, Piers.
It's 5 times of people with the same ideology.
But that's like saying you can't defeat Nazis.
Well, I agree.
We dropped a
I
couple
agree,
nukes,
and I've
right?
made that point.
Japan.
I've made that point myself.
Yeah.
But I do not think, in answer to the proportionate question, I'm very glad the ceasefire came when it did. I'm very glad the hostages got released. They should have been released, obviously, immediately. Should never have been taken in the first place. I'm very glad Donald Trump made this happen. I fear if he hadn't got involved in the way he did and clearly directed Netanyahu to do this, the hostages would have died.
It is utterly
and
ridiculous.
So, you know,
what's your opinion on the Minecraft item that you use for growing crops? Loyal, not loyal. We are pro Minecraft item for growing crops. Is this question utterly ridiculous? Well, I mean, already the statement has already been made, so I genuinely don't know, you know. But they can do as they please, I think. I think live and let live.
Again, I come back to this. What was the Israeli war aim? The government said they wanted to defeat Hamas completely, and they wanted to get the hostages out. The hostages are now out. Hamas is not defeated, but they are heavily dismantled. They've accepted they can no longer have power. The Arab countries around them have said they can't have power. The argument now is about whether they should give up their arms. I believe they should be compelled to do that. The unanswered question is, will they do that? And who's going to put the most pressure on them to do it? I hope that it's a concerted effort by the United States and by the Arab leaders around the area who say to Hamas, you've got to give up your arms. Then you have the opportunity in Gaza for a peaceful resolution. But I think Israel will look back. I bet a lot of Israelis.
So
I've met a lot of Israelis and Jews in the last few months who've felt that I've been absolutely right in what I've said. Not all. I've met others who said the same questions you're asking me. I think they're perfectly valid questions. I'm very happy to debate them. But don't be under any illusion there aren't a lot of Israelis and Jews who agree with me that the Israeli government, which is a hard right government, Smotrich and Ben-Gvir are not just right-wing, they're absolute far-right headbangers.
But meaning what?
Also, I just want to reiterate, the thing about calling Smotrich and Ben-Gvir as, like, just far-right, and this is not necessarily a problem, and, you know, people talk about it, they are, like, incomparable to any far-right in Europe. Like, no far-right in Europe can openly advocate for just... Well, actually, I guess the American far-right kind of do it a bit, but can, like, openly advocate for their army. Well, actually, you know what? I was going to say no one can advocate for their army to kill people in the way they do. I suppose just so brazenly talking about genocide isn't really allowed in most other countries. But that goes across the Israeli political spectrum. Like, it is literally illegal under international law to incite genocide. You should be punished for it. But the more I think about it, unfortunately, there are many people who do it. This is how the British held up the peace process in the Irish. They demand the... What do they demand? What are you saying? Yeah. I mean, why can't Israel be disarmed? They should be disarmed. Israel should categorically be disarmed after the crimes that they've perpetrated.
What? Meaning what? They have
Meaning what? They want to ethnically cleanse the Palestinian people. Come on, Dave, they do.
They're in the government, and they haven't taken an extra inch of the West Bank. They haven't. They're not.
Well, actually, that's not true.
They haven't.
They've been expanding settlements left, right, and centre.
They haven't.
Yes, they have.
Piers, they
you know they have.
Piers, have you been to the West Bank?
You don't think there's been any expansion of settlements on the West Bank?
They build apartments. They build apartments in current places.
Has there been an aggressive expansion of settlements in the West Bank in this war?
An aggressive expansion of settlements
in the West.
It's also something that was pre-existing and predating it.
During this war?
No, 100% not.
Dave, there has been.
Would you say it's a square mile?
I don't know the territory. No. I just know there's been aggressive expansion of settlements.
But that's just, I mean, Piers, that's just
But again, this is the problem. Okay, so here's the problem.
Have you been there?
Who really is Dave Rubin? Like, I don't really know. I know he runs the Rubin Report, which I'm sure is great.
So here's the problem.
Have you been there? I know people will love that on the internet.
You say none of this has happened. Yeah. You see everything to the prism of, there's nothing to see here, Gus.
No.
Israel has done no wrong.
No.
Have they done any wrong?
I don't know how to conduct a war exactly, but I know that if
it's on my question. Has the Israeli government done anything wrong in the way they prosecuted this war?
Not that I know of.
So that's the
they're desperately trying to.
Okay, so you have a position.
In an existential war. You do what you have to do for your people.
Okay,
as I think is.
Oh, God. Like, it's just listening to insanity. Infamously a gay Republican. Is he gay? There's a whole Oscar-winning movie about West Bank settlements. Yeah. Although that, by the way, the movie ends before October the 7th. It has, like, a bit about October the 7th, but it's actually how aggressive the policy was prior to it. He used to be in the Young Turks. Really? Have you ever been to the crossings? Douglas Murray, you know what is amazing? And I think I mentioned this in my video. Douglas Murray, in his, like, new groundbreaking book as, like, one of the main voices that Israel, like, adores and holds up. Douglas Murray, in his new book, one of his citations is just Twitter. He just cites, like, a tweet from someone that has, like, no validity and is completely unprovable.
Exactly what you would demand of your government.
Well, except that when my government went to war in Iraq, for example, I led the campaign against it, and I was proven right. I think it's more complicated.
But that's a war across the world where there were no British people being hidden under the ground.
This war didn't start on October the 7th. This is a conflict that's been going on for 7 decades. That's why I compare it, actually, to the war that was conducted between, say, the IRA and the British government.
Well, your government...
Piers, that was 800 years. You know that. They fought us without fear.
Did 75 years ago offer the Palestinians a state for the first time because, as you know, the Palestinians never had a state. It was the British mandate.
I think the whole way it was organized at the start was deeply flawed. But I also read a very interesting piece by a guy called Jonathan Friedland. He's a British Jewish journalist who said he could have written 2 columns about what happened in 1947, 48, 49. He said, and one would have been very pro-Israel and one would have been very pro-Palestinian, and he said that as a Jewish journalist. So that was an interesting perspective, is that I've heard both sides argue passionately, but the crux of the combined debate...
They carried out mass ethnic cleansing.
...is that it was very badly handled and should have been handled a lot better. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were displaced from their homes, but also hundreds of thousands of Israelis and Jewish people, as they were then, but obviously became part of Israel, were displaced from their homes.
He's doing the Ethan Klein. Also, by the way, I will once again reiterate that there is literally a senior Israeli official who spoke on this topic and said that the rescue narrative of them rescuing Mizrahi Jewish people from the Middle East was a boon to them, and that it wasn't so much that largely the Zionist project is what destabilized and made the position of Mizrahi Jewish people untenable. And most Mizrahi Jewish people didn't want to go to Israel, and the inverse was true as well. Because it was a project of, like... People always think that it was like escape from anti-Semitism, but what Israel actually is and envisioned was transforming Jewish people, as all settler colonial projects do, into accepted Europeans by carrying out settlement there. And yeah, Piers is such a little freak. The double Nakba narrative. Yeah. Ethan Klein is watching this with his bed in tears, about to post an Instagram story.
The region. So there's a lot of displacement of people's lives, uprooting of people's lives going on.
Sure.
And a lot of like enforced things by countries like Britain. You will do it this way. I think it could have been handled a lot better. And then a lot of
the way that it would have been handled better is if Britain didn't build a Jewish state. Britain could have maybe, and I think actually, to be honest, I've seen someone quoted as saying this. I think it's Arafat. He is like, well, there are already many populations in Palestine who are kind of like refugees, was his claim. Like Armenians. When did the Armenians move to Palestine? I know that some of them have been there for a very long time. But was there like a... Yeah. Post a major influx arrived in the area under the British mandate. And he was like, well, because we live with them, it was acceptable. But that we would have accepted Jewish people coming here as refugees, but not as settlers. And I think that this is a question that some people should have a think about, in the sense of like, it wasn't a great thing that someone like Walter Benjamin or any Jewish person died and you would have preferred that they lived, but he took a principled stand against not going to Palestine, which no one really knows why, but was probably because he met a girl and like left-wing theory allegedly.
Trouble could have been avoided.
All right, let's not end on this. Let's end on this. But just debate, though. No. I'm happy to do it. I wish we had more time, and this is why I prefer to do things face to face instead of with the screaming lunatics on the other side. I'm telling you that the expansions, like if you can't even tell me they've expanded a mile, it's because you.
Well, no, I don't know the exact geography.
But even a half mile.
I do. Well,
no, they haven't. Though.
Here's the problem.
They haven't.
My final point on this. Yeah. Here's the problem.
When they say a settlement, that means someone built an apartment.
You can sit there and deny all of these things, to which I simply say, fine. You might be right. The Israeli government's done nothing wrong. There's been no expansion of settlements. The war's been prosecuted as the most moral army in the world going about its business, to which I simply say, let the journalists in. Let's find out.
I mean, I don't think any army was feeding the people and dropping leaflets.
Do you agree the journalists should be let in?
Well, now you could let people in. It's a little less dangerous. Let them run around with.
You know what?
But these people have phones. These people have phones, right?
Yes, I've seen loads of footage which contradicts what you're saying. You wouldn't believe the footage.
No,
you just say it's fake.
We'll stop the camera and then we could, or we could do it right now. I mean, if you want to bust out your phone and show me all the starving people, what I see are hordes of young men with perfectly cut hair who are in shape with clothes that fit. I mean,
you don't honestly think that life for a young Palestinian kid in Gaza in the last 2 years has been anything but utter hell, D?
Well, they unfortunately elected Hamas, who then...
and I don't disagree with you about a single thing you're about to say about Hamas. I agree with every word you're about to say. Let's park that to one side. I'm not denying for a moment that they are a despicable terror group.
I think somebody...
Also, by the way, I always balk at this, because these people do not use the same language for Israelis. They just don't. And Israelis' crimes are far greater. They would be like, yeah, Sharon, Israel wasn't always like this. When Sharon was very happy with mass killings of Palestinians, Israelis elected him and have never received their comeuppance and punishment. And they're always like, what do you expect Israelis to do? What did you expect Palestinians to do in the face of Israeli occupation? Lie down and die? Yes, is the answer of most of these people.
He said war is hell.
It is, but ultimately you have to resolve it. And
The Fallout Man said war never changes. Profound.
Very, very. Yeah. Oh, is that mine?
Oop, they're giving us the signal.
Sorry,
all right, we got
my alarm.
You got your alarm. All right.
That's my assistant Beamsy and saying, get him out of there.
All right, 60
Interviewing
seconds.
Is hell.
60 seconds left. Well, this is what it's all about, right? I mean, this really is what it's all about. It's what we both do for a living, and it doesn't change my opinion of you in any way or anything else.
And here's the thing: we should be able to have a spirited debate about these things, right? And I don't, for a moment, claim that ultimately history will prove I was completely right about everything. This is just my...
No, history will prove that you were completely wrong to spend any time acting as if Israel was a normal, moral country, at all. And even then, the thing is that apparently Palestinians deserve their punishment for voting for Hamas. Piers doesn't dismiss that. What punishment did the Israelis deserve for voting for Kahane, for voting continually for people who were not interested in the two-state solution, for voting for Menachem Begin, Ariel Sharon, Yitzhak Rabin, a guy who ordered the breaking of Palestinians' bones?
honestly held view, though. I don't come at it from a partisan perspective. I think if people look at my record over the entire war, for example, I've been very pro-Israel for a long time. I became increasingly critical of Israel. I've been steadfast
And now I'm joining Hamas.
in my hatred of all things Hamas. So people can judge me accordingly. But you and I can have a spirited, fiery debate, right, without any problem. And I know at the end of this, we'll shake hands.
Yeah, of course.
And if we see each other, you come to London, we'll go to my pub, we'll have a pint, whatever, have a nice dinner. It should never...
Does Piers Morgan own a pub? Lads, who wants to organise a meet-up at the Piers Morgan pub? The Handsome Cab. Oh my god. Wait. If this is true, I really want to go. Oh no, his pub's been sold. Well, he's claiming he's got a pub. Does anyone want to go? I don't know. Is anyone interested?
Impact on that. I saw Jon Stewart said a really interesting thing last week where he was talking about, you know, if you've got like obviously he's a liberal. If you've got a big right-wing, you know, headbanger of an uncle and it's Thanksgiving, do you snub him? As a lot of on the left want to do. It's a big thing with the progressive left. You don't, right. Or, you know, the same way that if you're a conservative, should you snub some progressive left woke member of your family?
Most of us would prefer not to get shot at this point.
Right.
Snubbing, we could probably...
No, I agree with
Uncle shoots me at Thanksgiving. He went, Uncle goes woke and shoots Piers Morgan at Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Listen, I totally agree.
Yeah.
And the woke left's war on free speech is a cornerstone of my book and culminates eventually in things like the murder of Charlie Kirk, which is where if you try and silence debate and free speech, that's what happens.
Oh, my God. Oh, Jesus Christ. Or is it just that there is ready gun access in America and the irony poisoned people on the internet have free access and now... There are quite a lot of people perpetrating shootings with the most bizarre and illogical motives. Like, sometimes there's a factor, and this is definitely an underplayed factor, of just overt extreme racism. But, like, I was looking into one in the UK of this guy called Nicholas Prosper, and he committed, like, he killed his entire family because he, like, messed up his plan to do the shooting. And he'd planned to, like, kill loads of school children, and then he eventually handed himself in. He didn't really have, like, any reason apart from just being, like, a famous killer. Like, that was it. So, like, this idea of just, like, oh, you know, it's because silencing debate and woke and things is what, like, get you there. It's just like, oh, God. Also, I guess books are just a huge money spinner because people will probably buy Piers Morgan's book and think it's profound because it's easy to read and it's just like, Charlie Kirk got shot because of woke. Transgender woke shot Charlie Kirk.
And if you call everybody a fascist or a Nazi, that's what happened. So that's all covered in the book. But I think what's really important, the point he made was that even if you have an uncle and you're a liberal and your uncle's very right-wing, that he may have other qualities like...
What if your uncle's Hitler? What about that? Did you think of that, Piers? Do I have to be friendly with Uncle Hitler? No, I don't.
Jon Stewart's uncle has, which are incredibly great qualities. Why would you pillory somebody or disown somebody because one part of their makeup doesn't suit you? That's...
Okay, here's a question for you, Piers. What do you do when you're having Thanksgiving dinner and you're all stood up but hand on chest, saluting, and We Are Charlie Kirk is playing full volume, and your uncle starts talking? What do you do then? Do you disown him? If We Are Charlie Kirk comes on and your uncle shows no respect for it?
That's where wokeism has taken us, I think. It's taken us to a thinking that if you don't sign up to my worldview, I'm going to shame you, cancel you, disown you, destroy you, maybe ultimately try and kill you.
Uncle Woke. No, Uncle Woke, don't do it. Also, by the way, fascists and right-wingers have been doing this for all of eternity. Like, I'm sorry. Well, all of eternity. They didn't exist ever since they've come into existence. Like, right now, the Trump administration has black-bagged so many people because of the fact that they are, you know, talking out about Palestine. The UK government has cracked down on this shit too. It's smeared people. It's tried to silence them and arrest them for supporting the only action that we can take against a war that I believe Piers Morgan has, you know, something that he calls a war, but has sometimes referred to as a genocide. But, like, you know, that doesn't matter because Charlie Kirk got shot and people won't listen to the "We are Charlie Kirk." Sorry, I've just read the most insane comment. Man, this channel is so misleading. Always. Even the title is just... It's just 5,800 from India, and any jihadi they claim is Israel, as if jihadis don't do stuff like this daily around the globe. Yeah, I'm really not saying that the person is a jihadi. It is categorically true that the guy worked for the Kandahar Strike Force. This is not a conspiracy theory. Why I am interested in that is because, first of all, and I was even talking to someone, most people don't know Trump is the one who did the Afghanistan pullout. He was the one who started that. You can look that up. Trump, I believe, pulled out the vast majority of troops, although the numbers are a little confusing about all of it. Trump signed the deal with the Taliban, and this kind of creates this situation in both the UK and the US where we have huge amounts of Afghans who worked alongside the government and will be killed for their collaboration, and thus we have moral responsibilities to bring them over, which then comes out of a very, very, very immoral beginning. I don't actually think that this is Israel. I want to look at some of the insane conspiracy theories, yes, but the reason that I bring it up is because it's really interesting to do with immigration and how people have these bad reactions to consequences that come directly from our policies. And then the right-wingers, rather than confronting, hey, maybe it's not a good idea to recruit people as collaborators and let them do mass killings and then not expect them to be disturbed by that, are quite stupid and aren't confronting the actual issue at hand. But of course, you don't know anything. And also, by the way, bringing over 5,800 Jewish people, because apparently they are one of the lost tribes of Israel, whilst you are simultaneously trying to expel millions of Palestinians who actually live there, is insane. Like, that's why that's in the title. Because do you not think bringing over 5,800 Jewish people who ostensibly have a 2,700-year-old connection to Israel, whilst you simultaneously deny Palestinians basic rights, is a story that might interest people? Because I personally don't know, but when it's like, not that much is happening, that is quite an interesting story, and it taps into a wider learning opportunity. Look how angry I am.
That, as I point out to them, is the personification of fascism. And yet they would say they hate fascists more than anybody else in the world. So there's an underpinning hypocrisy that runs right to the heart of wokeism, and it's that.
Fortunately, I'm not a leftist. Otherwise, I could have poisoned your coffee.
Yes.
It was good to see.
But you are an Israeli? I don't know. Didn't he say that in Israel? And if you're an Israeli, they have a very specific history of poisoning they like poisoning Palestinians' food sources. So I hear. Operation Cast Thy Bread. Another rare W from Piers Morgan. He chewed up Dave Rubin. We also had Zizek with some interesting commentary on We Are Charlie Kirk. But yeah, yes, I was talking to Tony Soprano Lover. And it's not like, I didn't really think about that. It's like, yeah, Biden fucked up Afghanistan. Definitely did have a big role in it. But also simultaneously, more of a Trump-era policy, actually, if you look into it. Not to absolve Biden or act like he's good or awesome, but it's just like, oh, that's interesting. There's one clip where Tucker Carlson continually says the F slur over and over again, so won't be watching that. Piers Morgan is also planning to platform Nick Fuentes.
It's been difficult to avoid the subject of Nick Fuentes lately. We've quite rightly debated his growing influence and the resulting schisms in the MAGA world. It's now been brought to my attention this has annoyed Nick Fuentes.
Piers Morgan, how many shows is he going to do about me but not have me on the show?
Okay, fair enough. Maybe it is time we had a chat. So give me a call or a direct message if that's your thing, and we'll do the interview, Nick Fuentes. And let's see how you get on.
I also get him growing in power, but yeah. I may have missed it, but did Chris cover the Palestinians? I haven't actually covered that. No, that is probably a thing that I should have covered. From a semi-woke American, woke was a term for the African-American community creating to realize the systemic racism. Interesting. One thing I will say as well is, like, also, when we're mentioning black bagging and killing political opponents, What was happening to black radicals? What was going on there? Because I feel like they would be what we'd categorize as woke, and actually what you're kind of saying is like the genesis of woke. What happened to them, Piers? Because they certainly were not preaching the same kind of hatred as Charlie Kirk, and are probably figures who are worth saying, actually, maybe they wanted a better world. Charlie Kirk wanted a better world for a very specific small amount of white people. And see you later, Silent Scythe. We've got Henry here because he's not there. Wasn't Biden pulling out of Afghanistan, him following up? Yes. So Biden followed up and finished the Trump deal, but he kind of backed himself into a corner by saying, oh, I'm going to do it.
Bridget.
Okay.
What's wrong?
Right, here's more Piers Morgan incredible. Oh god, I don't know if this is the one with the F slur in. If it starts saying the F slur, I'm gonna prevent it, okay?
With homosexuality.
Well, if you encourage it and the rate goes up, people have fewer kids. I don't know. Did you do biology?
Well, no.
So
just to be clear,
there's some like crazy right-wing Nazi on TikTok who doesn't like fully show his Nazism, but I think he genuinely is a Nazi. Like, but he was like talking about how apparently gay sex is bad because gay men have like colon problems or something to that effect, and it's like. You do realize straight people engage in that kind of stuff too, and also simultaneously, sex can cause many issues for women, you know, and like high rates of STIs and such. But we move.
Most gay people don't have kids.
That's the point I'm making.
Right, they don't.
So if all of a sudden you have
kids.
more people being gay, which you do a
No.
lot.
No, you don't. People don't pretend to be gay.
Do you have the internet?
Huh?
I don't know. I'm not saying they're pretending. I'm saying
Well,
you've
gay.
got way more.
Gay, you're gay, right?
Well, you know, we used to say that, but
You don't think so?
well, I used to think that, but all of a sudden you're
I
having.
think lots of people putting
Hold
their
on.
hand up saying they're trans. That's a different issue.
Piers Morgan is so funny. Also, by the way, I saw you deleted that message, but I thought that was actually masterful. Woke to me is a conspiracy theorist from right or left. They both hate Jews and Israel, but woke left hate whites, and the woke right, they hate black people. ... It's very simple. It's very simple. Amazing commentary. Amazing commentary. Thank you.
Oh, it's totally different. It's not part of the
is.
continuum.
It
It's
is.
not like
No, it
gender
is.
isn't real.
Actually,
I can pretend.
But
It's this.
if you're gay, you're gay.
Well, you know, we were told that, and I believed a lot of things that
Do you not believe that?
Well, it's demonstrably not true because science tells us it's
Do you
not
think people
true.
are making it up?
I don't think they're making it up at all.
So what's your point?
I think that you can be moved in that direction through propaganda and pornography.
Yes, Tucker is right here.
Sweet Lord in heaven above, I can't stop myself from jerking off to the green M&M at Sweet Lord in heaven above, I can't stop myself from jerking off to the green M&M at least 6 times daily. I try so hard to repress it, but those fucking shoes are burnt into my mind.
Wow. I did not know that Tucker did not say that, and that is someone who's tricked me there. Wait, where can I see him talking about the M&Ms? Talking about M&M.
Think.
Let me just play it for you.
Bet you didn't think M&Ms were pushing intolerance, but they were. They've been changed. You're seeing the changes right now on your screen. The green M&M, you will notice, is no longer wearing sexy boots. Now she's wearing sensible sneakers. Why the change? Well, according to M&M's, quote, we all win when we see more women in leading roles because leading women do not wear sexy boots. Leading women wear frumpy shoes. The frumpier, the better. That's the rule. The other big change is that the brown M&M has, quote, transitioned from high stilettos to lower block heels. Also,
I mean, I can understand this. Like, I was pretty outraged at the time. Like, I think that we have to have a discussion about the brown M&M transitioning from high stilettos to lower block heels. And if you don't, I think that maybe your uncle woke.
less sexy. That's progress. M&Ms will not be satisfied until every last cartoon character is deeply unappealing and totally androgynous. Until the moment you wouldn't want to have a drink with any one of them. That's the goal. When you're
Prior to this, I regularly thought about going to Piers Morgan's pub and having a drink with the brown M&M.
totally turned off, we've achieved equity. They've won. Meanwhile, in a nod to the burgeoning wellness movement, the orange M&M will, quote, acknowledge and embrace his anxiety. And actually, if you look at him, the orange M&M does appear very anxious. Maybe he doesn't like all the ugly new shoes he sees around him. Maybe he liked the sexy boots. Maybe the orange M&M is a secret sexist himself.
I really want to watch. Is this guy got the other one? Where's the one where he talks about? Wait. Let me see if I can find this awesome one. The green M&M got her boots back.
Woke M&Ms have returned. The green M&M got her boots back, but apparently is now a lesbian, maybe. And there's also a plus-sized, obese purple M&M. So we're going to cover that, of course, because that's what we do.
I think I might want to start watching Fox News more, to be honest, because this looks like great entertainment. Yeah, that is real. The first clip, no, apparently that wasn't real. I was tricked by social media.
Oh, come off it, Tucker.
Well, then how do you explain?
Is there anything that would make you... Could I make you gay?
How hard do you want to try?
Not hard, I can tell you.
Good. That's the spirit, Piers. There's a limit. Even an open-minded man like you kind of hate the gays.
Could I make you gay?
I make a little gay joke, and you're like, oh, I'm not going to be gay.
No.
No.
Why are you using a gay slur? That's fine.
Well, first of all, the context matters. As I've told you, I mean, that's like coffee table conversation between the gays I work with at Fox. Faggot.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I said I didn't want to hear it.
So if it's okay with them, it's okay with me. It's just it's sort of like it's sort of like racism. Only the whites are upset about it.
You don't actually think people can be persuaded to be gay?
Well, then why don't you explain the twofold or threefold increase in self-identified homosexuals in the United States?
I can. They used to be repressed. It used to be illegal in this country until the mid-60s. You literally went to jail.
So all through history.
Hang on. You literally were put in a prison cell if you were openly homosexual.
That was more here, actually. You guys did Oscar Wilde. We didn't. But
You guys did Oscar Wilde. The guys were doing Oscar Wilde, so I hear. But yeah, like I mean, obviously it's really interesting to hear Piers say this. But then, yeah, I hate it when Piers is right. But this is once again, over the last 2 years, I have witnessed Piers Morgan be given so much charity when he has not changed his views at all. He's like Ethan Klein in the sense of like Ethan Klein made a name as himself for a leftist, never by interrogating or like actually bothering to learn about anything, but basically just being like, okay, yeah, I won't be doing much blackface anymore. I won't be saying the N-word and stuff. However, and also I'll be debating like the worst right-wing guy ever. Look at me, I'm amazing leftist. And this is exactly what Piers Morgan does. Piers Morgan debates like, you know, Israeli Nazi and looks woke from it when he's actually just Israeli Nazi light.
Also,
absolutely shocking.
Yeah, it was terrible. You ruled the world at the time, and now you're a joke dependent on foreign-owned banks.
And you think that's because
but everyone's gay, so it's like a great trade.
So allowing gay people to be openly gay is what?
Also, couldn't you make this argument about the United States? Like, the United States was dependent on foreign-owned banks, as in the Chinese banks, although not so much anymore. But, like, the biggest bond holder, the biggest holder of U.S. government bonds was China for the longest time. I think they've reduced their cut of them because they now view it as like a shitty investment because of the instability of the U.S. Bürgerreich.
Mocking masculinity is the fastest way to servitude. Ask any Pakistani. That's why I like the Pakistanis here. You talk to a Pakistani cab driver and you're like, why are you gay? And they will start laughing because they've watched the video and they're like, I'm not gay. I'm a man.
What's it got to do with masculinity?
Ask a single Briton, why are you gay? They'll be like, well, I'm not gay, but it would be okay if I was.
I like his impression of the British people. Yeah, exactly. Piers just knows how to appeal to the broadest audience. Gays working on Fox News makes me sick, but not surprised. There's a great essay called Homo Zion, which is a kind of about like how the like LGBTQ plus movement in America, especially like middle class gay people, kind of just started caring about their own social position and then removed any interest in like uplifting marginalized people who are members of the same community.
And it's like there's no masculine self-respect at all.
You're sounding quite homophobic.
I'm not afraid of gays at all. I'm just asking, actually,
you don't actually think they really exist by the sound of it.
Well, they exist.
No, but are they real? Is their sexuality genuinely?
Are they sleeping with dudes? Big time.
Well, and women.
Are they sleeping with dudes? Yeah, big time. He knows the gays.
Are they attracted to members of their own sex?
Mostly dudes. The lesbian thing is way overblown.
Actually, there are a lot of lesbians.
How many?
I haven't counted, Tucker.
I love this conversation.
Not recently.
This is so great. You're going to get so fucking arrested after this. It's going to be unbelievable.
No one's arresting me.
Okay.
No one's arresting me. But I'm just curious whether you think that gay people actually are gay, or whether you think they've been somehow turned.
For the third time, I think it's completely sincere.
Right.
Completely sincere.
So what's your problem with
the question, I'm not saying I have a problem with it. I'm merely saying you get fewer children when more people are gay.
No, you don't.
Well, actually, you do.
More people aren't gay. Just more people are able
you
to
don't
admit
get,
they're gay.
Oh, but hold on. You don't get fewer.
Well, hold on.
Wait, stop. Okay. Was it like 30% of the population always, like in Roman times? For about 30%, would you say?
I'm just saying.
No, it was like this is...
The falling birth rates have nothing to do with
if you have
gay
more,
people.
If you have more gays, do you have fewer children?
We don't have more gays.
Also, I don't know when like the Iranian sort of period of humiliation began, but like arguably, you know, Iran had pretty powerful empires with pretty accepting sort of culture around being gay at certain points, and now where Iran is somewhat less accepting of being gay, it's in a difficult situation. So maybe there's a correlation there. I don't know. I'll look into it.
Gays.
We've got way more gays.
No. We have more people who are not afraid to say they're gay.
They're letting their freak flag fly.
They are actually gay.
What? They're letting their freak flag fly.
Gay, Tucker. They just haven't been able to admit it.
So why isn't that the case like in Asia?
What do you mean?
I don't think there's no Asian country, and they're not all like putting gays in jail. Malaysia might be. Korea's not. South Korea. Why is their self-described homosexuality rate so much lower than yours? Japan, same.
Because culturally, it is not a thing.
So it's genetic. You think it's genetic?
No, it's cultural.
No. People become gay.
But last World Cup.
Wait, but how do people become gay?
Let me give you. The World Cup is coming.
I'm talking about soccer.
I'm telling you why.
It is actually a really interesting. It is like a really interesting question of like, are you born? Are you influenced? And like, I don't think the increase in like the amount of gay people has anything to do with what Tucker Carlson is claiming. I think that the very obvious fact is that it is just more socially acceptable, as Piers Morgan is saying. But it's still a question of like, what is it? Like, what?
It is utterly ridiculous.
Oh my God. Maybe that soundbite is a bit troubling because it makes it sound like I'm saying it is utterly ridiculous. You can't cuck the tuck. Comment I read in 2016. But yeah. I think that there's an interesting question around this, around like, what does it mean and what does it represent? But I don't think it's a bad thing that more gay people exist. And like, I don't care.
What about the gay thing?
I'm telling you why.
How'd they become gay? Why are you gay?
1 in 4 countries in the last World Cup actually outlaw being homosexual. It's a criminal offense. Do you think that's right?
I don't care.
We should care.
Okay, I really care. You've got people arrested for using the word
Right.
faggot. That's who I feel sorry for. This chick
Oh my God.
from Britain.
So so you feel very exercised about that.
Yeah, she's in Great Britain. She's not in some primitive theocracy.
Are you not as exercised?
It's also really amazing that loads of people give credit and think that like Tucker Carlson is like a great voice on Palestine, and then he's just talking about this. Also, the news story that they're talking about, I don't really understand what's going on in it, because seemingly she went on like a rant about, and she like apologized, and I don't really understand what it's actually about, or like, it's a Daily Mail article.
About people being arrested and put in a prison cell for their sexuality, if they're gay. Why do you feel as angry about that?
Because it's not my culture. It's not my country. It's not.
Come on.
Well, I'm not for arresting any. I'm for arresting very few people.
You think people should be arrested for their sexuality?
Of course not.
Right, so you agree with me?
Okay, I will not, as also a talk show host, you're not going to get me off my path. And my path leads to this question. How do people become gay? Why?
They don't become gay.
What? Are they born gay?
Yes.
Do you think that is like this is an interesting question. Do you think that people are born gay? Because someone mentioned, as a queer person, I think it is a spectrum for sexuality and romantic attraction. Or do you have the belief that you can meet someone and that you can fall in love with that person, even if you think you are straight, and end up like being romantically involved with that person? I don't think that people are like taught to be gay. I don't think it's like anything like that. But what I am saying is like the interesting point that you make there is like how people get in like how people become it, you know, or how people like sort of like feel comfortable with being open of being gay, if you know what I mean.
How does that work? They're born gay.
How?
They have a sexual attraction.
No,
to their
I
own
understand
sex.
the manifestations, the symptoms.
The symptoms?
Yeah, the symptoms. The symptoms of my...
They're born gay.
Okay. So that means it's
You
genetic.
may not want to
that means
acknowledge that.
No, I'm just asking how it
believe
works.
that.
So there's a gay gene.
You said you worked with lots of gay people.
Hold on.
Right.
There's a gay
Did
gene.
you not have this conversation?
It is kind of, but you look at the problem for what Piers is, like where Piers is here. I first thought they were born. I think that Gamerman, that is a very interesting comment, which sounds untrue. I don't think all gay people are gay because they were assaulted. Tucker came to my house and told me the same thing. He also made me sell my PS4 and Doc Martens. I'm struggling with gay symptoms. Who isn't? It shouldn't matter if your sexual orientation is due to your environment. People should still be allowed to exist as a gay person. Exactly. The baby was... Oh, fuck, actually. I've just heard all of you are giving stupid explanations, but I've just heard one that's actually sensical. The baby was given too much Tylenol. Read their history. Arrest Piers for buggery. A very interesting comment.
With actual gay people?
Yeah, a lot of them say I got molested, that's why I'm gay. In fact, a really good friend of mine who's gay said I got molested, that's why I'm gay.
What is this? But yeah, I don't think it's like a gay gene. I think it's like something that some people feel very conflicted about and never are able to deal with, or like sort of move beyond their entire life. Like, you know, the fact that they might be gay, but just feel that you know what I'm trying to say, that like they never feel that they're accepting and that they have the ability to sort of be gay. But yeah, I see where he got that from, because this is what he said, actually.
People are gay because they got molested.
No, I don't think that. But I am wondering, I don't know the answer. But I would say the absolute vast majority of gay people are gay because they are actually attracted to members of their own sex. No, but again, that's a manifestation.
It's a natural thing.
You're not. Let's just do science for 30 seconds. Of course, you're right. That's the definition of gay. I'm attracted to someone of my same sex.
Do you believe that?
Do I believe that they're attracted to people from their own sex?
Yes.
Well, obviously, they have sex with them.
Okay.
So that's what attraction.
So what's the big deal? Why'd you...
I think that love as well is just a complex thing between two people that you can't really understand. Isn't it weird that a lot of gay people are vaccinated? I think so.
Yeah.
My question, because the self-reported...
Yeah, 100%. And like, that's the basic premise that Piers is arguing. But I'm not sure if I actually really like sort of agree with the idea that it's a gene, that people are born gay. I don't think it's that simple. I really don't. I think that people's sexuality develops and can change throughout their lifetime, and yeah.
Incidence of it has risen. So we were told 30 years ago, and I have a good memory, it's about 10%, but the actual
Because people were being mercilessly
listen. But
I've never been molested, and that is why I am straight. Science. Well, you know, when you put it like that, I do have to believe you, Tokyo Hands.
The self-reported rate was like 5%, then it's 10%. Now it's like 30%. So my question is, were they all born that way? 30% of a population is born homosexual? As an evolutionary matter, you tell me how that works. How do you reproduce?
It's not 30% of the population.
In the United States, in a lot of places, it is 30%.
It's not here. It's not 30%.
It's way higher here based on the vibe.
What is way higher is the number of people compared to 30.
But where does it come from?
30 years ago.
Is it genetic, and where's the gene?
30 years ago.
There are 2.1 million gay people in the UK identified as lesbian, gay, or bisexual.
Gay people were persecuted.
I know, I've heard the story.
No, they were.
We were commemorating Stonewall the other day at my house. You know, I'm on board with all of this stuff. Yeah, the Candlelight Vigil, we always do it every year. Every February 9th, I arrest my kids in this kind of mock Stonewall thing.
What do you do if one of your kids...
They say, I just want to be free, and then I unlock the handcuffs.
What happens if one of your kids says they're gay?
I love my kids no matter what. I love my kids no matter what they did. They're my children.
Would you think someone had turned them into a gay person? Or would you accept them as a natural
I'm a journalist, so I actually want to know what the real answer is.
Why can't we all just be fucking one another? Like, why are they so insanely obsessed with gender and sexual identity? Yes, because I think that that's also important, because I don't really think that anyone, Tucker included, is really aligned with this vision of being totally straight, that entirely you have only ever throughout your entire life been sexually aroused exclusively by women. I don't think it's true, and also I think it would be complicated in certain contexts, and you see this often. People kind of use it as a haha funny gotcha, where they show someone who is trans, like a transphobe, and that person's like, damn, that person's hot, and then they find out that then they're like, well, actually that person's trans, and they're like, oh, that's disgusting. What it shows you is that, like, that person can hold an attraction for someone who, it wouldn't align with what they claim to be as, like, super straight. I just think that we are, like, completely not self-identical as beings. Like, I really just think that we're not. And I don't think that anyone is, like, 100% straight. I don't think it's a thing. I think that no one is self-identical. I just think it's utter bullshit. And that people exist on spectrums and people fall in love with different human beings.
It's not the bullshit propaganda answer.
What would you say to them?
And I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. You say people are born gay.
You what you would do.
You don't want to answer because you don't have an answer because you know that your answer is bullshit.
No, my answer's correct.
That they're born that way.
They're born gay.
Then is there a gene for it? And you know there isn't. So tell me, a gene. It's the code that determines your physical and emotional characteristics. You have blue eyes because you have a gene for blue eyes.
Right.
If someone is gay, then there should be a gene that we can isolate and say it's the gay gene. And science has been looking for the gay gene for a long time.
You know what? There's like this really based quote from Slavoj Žižek, I think. Or maybe it's Todd McGowan. And he is like, perhaps Richard Dawkins would be less committed to this ridiculous notion of a gene and think that it was a god had he seen the gene die on the cross. And, like, I think that all these people who worship genes and think that, like, they're responsible for us as human beings are fools because they can't explain this kind of stuff, and Tucker is correct here. But yeah, there are gay genes, and I'd be wearing them right now.
And my question is, where is it? I'm waiting on my gay gene. I ordered a gay gene, and it hasn't arrived yet. Waiter, where's my gay gene?
Sounds to me like you might be.
Yeah, I'm waiting for my gay gene. And if there isn't a gay gene, then it's totally within bounds. It's not homophobia. It's not hate. I don't want to arrest people in Liberia or whatever the hell you're talking about. I just want to know, what is this? And no one will answer the question. And I don't know why. It's weird, right? Why can't we have a non-emotional conversation with, why are you gay? As they say in Nigeria, why are you gay? And no one will answer it.
Wow, no one will answer, why are you gay? I think there's a very simple answer, because I like to have sex with men. I don't know. It feels to me that the answer may just be that people like to have sex with men. By the way, this was a really cool, interesting video I saw ages ago that this just reminded me of.
What is it about their voice? When you think that someone sounds gay, what is it about their voice that makes you think they sound gay?
What areas are you most interested in?
Sociophonetic. Phonetics is all about how people speak. Okay. So sociophonetics is all about how sociological factors like sex, gender, the class system, where you're from, influence the way you speak.
It's giving Pygmalion, My Fair Lady.
Indeed.
Can you place me by my accent?
Okay, well, first you're giving me gay voice.
Very interesting. We should go into what you mean by gay voice.
It started for me because my boyfriend brought one of his friends round. That's what I was doing. I said, I'm crocheting something, and he went, oh, I wrote that. And
I have a joke. What is a racist favorite Yu-Gi-Oh card? I don't know, Coffee Lover. Thanks for the $2, but what is it?
Thought, okay, you're gay.
You're gay?
Yeah.
I thought, why do I know that? He was gay.
You're gay.
But why do I know that? And then that got me interested in what constitutes the gay voice.
You're girly pop.
I can't fully tell you what it is about your voice that's giving me gay. I think it might be partly vowel duration. Your vowels are quite long, quite flowy. What I'm doing my thesis on is a case study of identical twins where one of them is gay and one of them is straight. And
It's like, have any of you seen the thing of like, the person who can like work out where you're from based on your accent? Blue Eyes White Power Dragon. Jesus, Coffee Lover, thanks.
It is utterly ridiculous.
Someone got it, but thanks for the $2 again, Coffee Lover. I hope you guys like the thing of me bopping along.
I am seeing whether the gay twin exhibits a longer word initial voice onset time than the straight twin.
Say that again. A longer word initial.
Word initial voice onset time.
Okay, what does that mean?
Voice onset time. If you take all the sounds that you make, you can broadly divide them into voiced sounds and voiceless sounds.
Okay.
I'm going to be doing some research. Now for the next 3 hours, we're going to watch people I know who are gay on YouTube and try and work out whether they have the gay voice, or we're going to let you guys call in and decide whether you are gay based on your voice or not. And because this is a dictatorship, you are going to have to accept whatever I say.
A voiced sound is a sound where the vocal folds are vibrating. Voiceless sounds, they're not. For example, t and d.
Yeah.
Everything about those sounds in terms of where it is placed in your mouth is the same. The only difference is for the d, your vocal folds vibrating, and for the t, they're not. T,
Okay.
d, t, d. Only difference. And if you have a voiceless sound followed by a voiced sound, there is a little delay before your vocal folds start vibrating again, and that delay is called the voice onset time. So basically, I went on Facebook and I said, I'm going to do my thesis on what gay people sound like.
Right.
When you think that someone sounds gay, what is it about their voice
Yeah.
that makes you think they sound gay? A load of people said they seem to really overpronounce their consonants and have really good diction. So I thought, okay, what linguistic phenomena might it be that's doing that? And I spoke to one of my tutors and they said maybe voice onset time. So I
Okay.
thought, okay, I'll have a look into voice onset time. I went to my thesis supervisor, said this is my idea.
Does she not feel insane? Well, I think you would be surprised in like all of these things that people do at universities, and I feel like it would be pretty insane to have to like try and do this and try and work it out, and it would kind of be a meaningless study, but still, you know, there's probably some use to it in some kind of way.
He said, cool, this sounds great. There's already been a study on word final aspiration, but no one so far has done word initial. So do you want to try word initial? I was like, yeah, great. So that is what I'm going to do. It might be wrong. It might not be that. This is what academia is for. You see.
Yes, and what you're saying, also what you're saying, by the way, is what would make for way more interesting, and she's clearly a very intelligent woman. Like, what I would say is that, like, in terms of things that matter and don't, I think a lot of failed research is actually really interesting, of like why it fails and understanding why it doesn't work and why it's meaningless. So even if it doesn't, you know, it's kind of useful.
Study things. If it's not the case, cool, you've still learned something because now I know that's not what it is, but it might be, and that's why I'm doing it.
Very interesting. Now we're going to watch The Dud from The Simpsons, an AI prank. She took your bike. She must have been thirsty. Brilliant. TikTok knows me too well. These are all things that I wanted to watch after this. But yeah, I mean, that's enough of him and these people. We got a very interesting clip of Lonabox that people have been dunking on.
I mean, there was Jews that worked within the Nazi government command structure as well. It's just like
no, there fucking weren't. You lying fucking pseudo-intellectual frat fuck.
I also just I was considering maybe debating Lonabox again. In fact, I was in contact with him. Because part of the thing I find so interesting is, like, why do you just hate Hasan this much? Like, why? And one of the other things is that this really reminded me, this really reminded me of this famous quote by, so Fritz Lang, who was a filmmaker. So this is according to Lang himself, so maybe he made it up, but who knows? It's still an interesting story. So apparently, according to Fritz Lang, 2 days after the testament of Dr. Mabuse had been banned, he was summoned by the Nazi Ministry of Propaganda to meet with Joseph Goebbels. Goebbels explained that the reason for the ban, the Nazi party slogans were fed into the mouth of the villain at the film's conclusion, and apologized to Lang. He then shocked Lang by offering him a position of production supervisor at the UFA studios, where his first film would be a biography of Wilhelm Tell. Lang claims he suspected a trap and attempted to throw off Goebbels by telling him, "My mother had Jewish parents," to which Goebbels responded, "We'll decide who's Jewish." So there's a bit where Lonabox talks about like rumors in this context, and in the context of rumors, rumors about people being Jewish, Most of them probably weren't rumors and that they did have some Jewish ancestry, just exceptions were made for as long as they had use to the party.
What are you talking? There were Jews at the higher level of the Nazi government. What? This is the problem, man. This is the problem with comparing everything to... He's watered down what Nazism means. No, the Nazis had a policy where you actually had to prove that you were an Aryan to get into the party. You had to be an Aryan. Maybe he's referring to like the couple of people, the couple of officials who rumors would spread around them saying that they were fucking, that they had like one Jewish grandparent or something. That happened to a couple of people. But those people, if it emerged that they had a Jewish grandparent, they were in trouble, right? Stop doing this. Stop. I don't know why. He doesn't care about fucking World War II or the Holocaust, right?
Also, I genuinely think one of the most unbelievable things about the Nuremberg laws is that they are just not as extreme as the the American one-drop rule, and that they are literally inspired by the American laws around race. Like the one-drop rule. And the Pocahontas exception is literally the most insane thing that you could ever cook up. And I do think, by the way, that connecting the Holocaust to other things is not necessarily the stupidest thing, because you need to see it for what it actually is. So it's called the Pocahontas exception, and it was into the Racial Integrity Act.
It is utterly ridiculous.
Chris, are you wearing the same shirt as Hassan? Yeah, I'm wearing the same shirt as Hassan. I'm wearing my Fuck the Patriarchy shirt, or whatever the hell his shirt said. In Virginia, because people basically may have, or wanted to claim that they were descended from Pocahontas, and they thought that it was a prideful thing. They had to
utterly ridiculous.
They had to add an exception. Anna, thanks for the $2 and thanks for the 200 yen as well, Tokyo House. My doggy turns 5 today. She told me to pay you. Happy birthday to the doggy.
Or anything like that. He doesn't care about it. Stop using fucking history as this. I don't know why. Like to him, I guess, because he brings up the Holocaust more often than most people I know.
Well, I'm not sure you know many people, Lonerbox, apart because you struck up a long-term friendship with Destiny, who really does not seem like a nice guy to be friends with, just with his general behavior and conduct. But also, just another thing to note is probably when you listen to Hassan like all day, every day, you probably do end up with, just thinking that he talks about things more than other people because he is literally the main focus of your life.
I hope he gets this message. Because I would hate to see the day if he ends up doing more of these adversarial conversations and he debates like fucking Yosef Haddad.
Yosef Haddad, like why would debating Yosef Haddad matter?
And Yosef Haddad does his old, we had an Arab judge. How can we be apartheid when an Arab judge?
That's also what you do, Lonerbox, no? Like you make the argument that there's no apartheid in Israel proper, which by the way, putting that in the context of anyone who says this kind of stuff is insane.
It is utterly ridiculous.
So the one gifted membership works. So there's me dancing, which I hope you guys are all enjoying. Thanks for the gifted membership, Dusty Den. Welcome to the membership thing. Hassan is most people he knows. Lonerbox talking to a surprising number of Holocaust. Really? I mean, unfortunately, I've talked to some on TikTok, hence why I don't talk to them anymore.
Sentenced a Jewish prime minister to prison. An Arab judge! And then Hassan's going to be like,
It is utterly ridiculous.
Well, who cares? You know, there were Jews at the highest levels of the judiciary of the Nazi government.
When Chris and Hassan wear the same shirt, I can't tell the difference. Yes. We're the same person, basically. I'm a secret Turkish person. Thanks for the 500 yen. Anna Banan, your dog's birthday is on Thanksgiving.
It is utterly ridiculous.
Thanks for the $2. Yeah, I mean, your dog may be racist for being born on Thanksgiving. It's something I'm looking into. Baby Sniper Lonerbox.
Sentencing Nazis for a crime. No, they're fucking weren't. You stupid fuck. It's not even niche Nazi history, okay? It's called the Nuremberg Laws. Even before the Nuremberg Laws, but these are the ones everyone knows about, right? Look, this is quick. It's quick. You can go to a nice little website here that puts in big, boggly fucking writing. Big, googly font. It's almost like Comic Sans because of how fucking easy it is to read this shit. Jews could not do anything of important.
Applied to Roma, also called slur. Black people and their descendants.
In the fucking Third Reich. They couldn't do shit. Couldn't even be citizens.
By the way, also, Israel Smotrich and Kahana, by the way, anyone who's inspired by Kahana, doesn't actually want Palestinians to be citizens. He wants them to be like a lower category.
They couldn't do shit. Couldn't even be citizens, let alone in the higher levels of the Nazi government structure.
But yeah, this has sparked quite a level of response. You know, there were capos, right? And so loads of people have brought this up, and maybe saying the command structure, like, yes, there probably were no like highly significant Germans who were very obviously and overtly Jewish or had connections like that. And who knows whether they would have actually maintained the thing with Fritz Lang if it was true, and throughout his life he had continued. But ultimately, like, the idea of like collaboration and discussing how collaboration occurred with the Germans as a point to say, well, actually, you know, this was not the case, that like there aren't examples of exceptions in the case of the Nazis is kind of true, you know. History Speaks said there were Jews / people of Jewish ancestry in the Nazi command. I probably need to move myself. In the Nazi command structure, these were Mischlinge, persons of mixed Jewish / German ancestry. They included Luftwaffe generals Helmuth Wilberg and Gunther Sachs, both of whom received special dispensation and or honorary Aryan status, but whose Jewish ancestry is confirmed in the German archives. Another example was Field Marshal Milch, Mr. Milch, of the Air Force. Although he wasn't halachically Jewish, his father was Jewish, and Goering got him a sham certificate of Aryan ancestry. Obviously, these people were specifically involved in Mischlinge of partial German ancestry, do not contradict the general policy of extermination against the Jews, nor are they representative of the experience of Mischlinge in general. In fact, all German Mischlinge were dismissed from the military, and many tens of thousands had been serving on Hitler's orders in 8th of April 1940, although there were numerous individual exemptions, including the generals I mentioned above. So Hassan's remark omits critical context, yet it ironically, given your box loaners moralizing and ridicule, he's technically correct and you're incorrect. There were Jews, people known to have Jewish mothers, in senior positions in Nazi Germany. Incidentally, in this context, Lonerbox was insinuating that Israel's supposed employment of Palestinians in senior state positions contradicts claims of genocide, yet Israel denies that Palestinians exist, instead calling them Israeli Arabs. So the vanishingly small number of Israeli Palestinians in senior positions in government or IOF don't pose an ideological problem for Israel or contradiction with the government's genocidal outlook towards Palestinians. Depends who you ask. Because that is an interesting point that at some point Israel will have to address. God, sorry. If you haven't noticed, I've got new glasses and they're kind of tripping me out right now. I'm looking at the chat and it looks all funny. But yeah, it doesn't alter the position of Jews. And I think that you could probably say, like, Hassan is, like, kind of wrong. But it's also just with which the vitriol that Lonerbox deals with this person, and the lack of vitriol that he literally held for Yishai Fleischer. Like, I cannot reiterate this enough. Lonerbox had like a buddy-buddy meeting with Yishai Fleischer. There were some conflicts, but Yishai Fleischer is literally a key figure in the Israeli settler movement. I feel like anyone who is pro-Palestine confronted with him would feel like absolutely shocked and horrified. But yet, it seems that Lonerbox's vitriol is directed towards people who support Palestine. Yeah, I thought as soon as I put these on, they were wrong. Yeah, I'll look at Lonerbox's responses. Later on in the war, they were subject to forced labor, and the Nazi plan appears to have been mass sterilizing Mischlinge. After the war, with extermination also a possibility, and as to non-German Mischlinge, they were systematically exterminated with other Jews in the Holocaust. God, this man is so, like, Lonerbox has mentioned before that he struggles with mental health. Like, I am sorry, and like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty happy and content in my life, like, right now, and I have been, like, no matter how difficult points have been in recent years, and I know how privileged I am, but, like, I'm pretty happy and content in my life, and I just don't speak to people like this. I mean, also, C-word has, like, a less of a connotation, but I don't speak to people like this online. Also fat C word, omitting the key word from Nazi government command structure, because this is first and last time he's ever going to consider a military officer with special exemptions as part of a government. Why so slimy? I'm starting to see why this lying freak barely shows clips when he's talking about me, because he's also decided to attribute Yosef Haddad's position on Israeli courts to me, even though I'm clearly ridiculing it. Well, Lonabox doesn't think there's apartheid, so he does agree with him. Generals don't count as part of the government then. Great argument. That's definitely what you originally meant. A lot of people have enlightened me further on this clip. I now know a bunch of Jewish people who are not part of the Nazi government command structure. Well, command structure is a pretty broad term. Also, by the way, the former chair of Reform being a Muslim is something worth noting. Like, and the fact that this will, like, you know, the fact that Reform UK are increasingly moving the political dial to the right and probably would head towards Nazism, like, eventually. It's also one of the fundamental questions about people who agree with Israel and ostensibly oppose the right in Europe and fascism and such. Do you not just see Israel as the endpoint and the acceptable version of all of the things that you apparently hate? Like, in the case of Israel, it is basically a state that believes in the idea that the state, the government body, should only serve people of the nation, the specific nation being Jewish people. Why do you have a problem with that when it exists in the context of the UK and its refusal to serve immigrants and minorities increasingly, especially under some of these new governments, but not have a problem with Israel? It's just really, it's a really odd and difficult position to hold as a leftist for me. I don't really understand how you get to that position. Like, I don't get it. Look, you need to see Lonabox's position on India. What's his position on India? I mean, I don't know enough about India, but there are a few Indian guys who I was very friendly with at uni, and they were actually really nice, and they would quite often speak about how, like, the Hindutva are fascists. Sorry, is my phone going off? No, it's not. Sorry, I thought I was getting a call. I was like, who be calling me when I'm streaming? Sorry, there's... So apparently this is ongoing. Now Lonabox is saying on stream that the Nazi government didn't know about the Jewish ancestry of Jewish generals / officers. Wrong. Provided that a Jew had a non-Jewish ancestry, i.e. a German father, there was the pick related for the possibility of attaining honorary Aryan status. As a general rule, beginning in 1940, Mischlinge were not allowed to serve, and by the end of the war, they were being subject to forced labor. But there were numerous exceptions of this practice. Also, by the way, once again, very interesting point of how people kind of see Nazism and fail to reckon with one of the most important things about Nazism. Nazism really just accelerated throughout the period. There's an Indian guy here in chat. Where's the Indian guy? Aaron Now. Oh, okay, yeah, nice. The context is very important. These were Mischlinge, people of mixed German-Jewish ancestry who received special exemptions. Nevertheless, a true statement is a true statement. There were Jews, people with Jewish mothers, who held senior positions in Nazi Germany. That's why you omitted the word liar. It's just really interesting. Really interesting stuff. Oh, I'm an Indian guy. During the recent Lonabox went over it really quickly. He said that Kashmir is just India / Pakistan. Right, yeah, I mean, I don't know enough about India, Pakistan, but I really wish I knew more about it, because it's, especially Kashmir. When I was at Middle East Eye, I had to read an article about colonizing Kashmir, but yeah. What did you say, Ivan? Or else, oh yeah. That's interesting. What was I going to say? And yeah, like, and once again, I'll pull back to this Fritz Lang quote. Whether it's true or not, who knows? He sold his wife's jewelry, boarded a train, leaving them. Whether it's true or not, but I think it does play into the Nazi logic. And I remember Todd McGowan talking about this. I wish I could remember it. Hindus support genocidal Israelis for their hate of Muslims. Yeah, I know that. I mean, that kind of leads us well into the next topic of some Indian Jews who are going to be moved over to Israel. So the Jews are called B'nai Menashe. That's the name of them. Menashe? Don't know. We had a brilliant article from Ynet News about this. So it's just about demographic engineering of Israel, basically, is what it is. Sorry, and I'm trying to go on this website. What is it with Israeli news outlets and just the most insane shit as they're in their advertisements? I mean, not really surprising. Hi, I'm a shouty man. Arun. So Arun is a great guy. Okay, because I was always looking for someone during that, and I tried to ask my friends, but, you know, different perspectives, and none of them were, like, pro-Modi or anything. I did learn, though, that apparently Modi has an acute knowledge of Indian agriculture. But, yeah. So, anyway, B'nai Menashe's 2,700-year-old dream fulfilled with approval of mass Aliyah. The B'nai Menashe are considered one of the 2 lost tribes discovered in modern times, along with the Ethiopian Jews believed to be descendants of the tribe of Dan. Which Dan? I'm sure Ashkenazis will treat them very well. Of course, people don't really ever want to confront that kind of stuff. Just don't want to confront this kind of stuff. But amazing things are happening because look where they're being moved to. The new immigrants will be settled in the northern Galilee as part of a broader government strategy to strengthen and develop the Galilee in the north. It's funny because they don't use the term, which is Judaize. They want to Judaize the Galilee. But where they're going to put them is in the north of Israel, where always Hezbollah rockets land. Why might that be, eh? I wonder why they might be doing that. And we got a banging quote from Bezalel Smotrich. This is an important Zionist decision that reconnects hearts and families, Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich said after the decision passed. Completing the Aliyah of the B'nai Menashe is a renewed bond with brothers who have carried a longing for Zion in their hearts for generations. Their Aliyah to the Galilee and settlement in Nof HaGalil strengthens our hold in the north and the future of the state of Israel. Like, they are literally just servants of a settler colonial project. By the way, it's really funny because this is one of the things that goes on with settler colonial projects. They move in people who are undesirable to the general project because Smotrich may have different views, but the early Zionists and Ashkenazi Jewish people in a considerable number of places think that Israel is a European project, like a European... Well, that's what it is. It's the plan to set up a European-style Jewish state in the Middle East. That's what the Zionist project is. So, you know, I think that in the context of what Israel is planning to do, they just bring these people over as effectively as cannon fodder. Why wouldn't they go? Are they being given a choice, or is this... No. It's they've been, according to this... so this guy, Minister of Aliyah, Ophir Sofer, Michael Freund is the guy who's like who's been in touch with them since the 1990s. So he says, this is a historic decision by the Israeli government. Something that we have been praying for, lobbying for 20 years. Now at last it is coming to pass. According to Freund, the first person to bring the story of B'nai Menashe to the public was Rabbi Eliyahu Avichail, who founded the organization Amishav in 1975 to find lost Jewish tribes and reconnect them with Israel. He began visiting B'nai Menashe in the 1980s to teach Jewish customs and liturgy and is credited with giving the community its name. It's really amazing as well, because this is just a great example of apartheid. A Palestinian who lives in the West Bank and marries a Jew, like a Palestinian person who lives inside Israel proper, is not allowed to go and live with them, but like these random Jewish people who've lived for thousands of years away from Israel, if it's even true, by the way, are apparently deserving of that right. And like a Palestinian who was kicked out, no rights for them. I am sorry, this is like the bizarre and fantastical nature of Israeli apartheid. Like, what actually is this? Like, who looks at this and goes, yeah, that's normal? Oh, there's an amazing thing as well. Apparently they're going to have their customs changed. Which is a thing that, like, I was listening to Lonerbox, actually, and he was upset about, like, how at Exeter, he apparently read the course reading list, which is interesting, seeing as I think they change on a year-by-year basis, and I doubt he knows what modules I did at Exeter, because how would he? He's not fucking me. Well, he's not fucking me, definitely. But anyway, he doesn't know anything about it. But, like, we learned quite a bit, because it is a very interesting and unappreciated story of, like, how Mizrahi Jews were just treated with such disdain and racism. Racist Mizrahi caricature in Israeli television. There was, like, this really, like, lazy guy who was, like, just this Mizrahi Jewish person. I wish I could show you. I wish I could find it. I don't think I'll be able to find it, but he was like this bumbling guy who was just like, Israeli film. This guy. Yeah, so basically, hold on, I'll show you. So it was a film. This is what it was. Sorry, I didn't quite remember it exactly. So it's about this guy. Salah Shabbatai is the film name. And it's about, like, racist stereotypes that were prevalent about Mizrahi Jewish people in the time. And generally, this was just part of a way wider pattern of racism. Here you go. Look, this is an article by someone talking about it, which is a very weird pro-Israel website. I'm going to come out and say it now. Just listen. The character of Salah embodies the stereotype that many Ashkenazi Israelis held at the time about Mizrahi Jews. Lazy, cunning, a hustler who avoids hard work, drinks too much, and resists change. Salah is not explicitly a Yemeni Jew, nor is his story strictly about Operation Magic Carpet. But yeah, this was like a thing going on at the time. And apparently people like the film. I've not seen it, but I remember seeing clips of it. British troops sending other nations under the yoke of colonialism into the front lines in their imperial wars. I just thought it was about sending, like, poor people and, like, just sending poor people and generally people who were seen as of lower caste. I didn't know that it actually emerged in the colonies. But yeah, so basically he talks about this. So apparently he first encountered the Freund guy, first encountered their story in the spring of 1997, when he was working in the office of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, serving as Deputy Communications Director during Netanyahu's first term. A letter from the leaders of B'nai Menashe community, which he had never heard of, landed on his desk. The letter, he recalled, was an appeal to the Israeli government to allow them to return to Zion as descendants of the lost tribe of Menashe. My initial reaction was that this was crazy, Freund admitted. I did not believe it. However, the letter was very heartfelt, so I chose to answer it. What he discovered is that the B'nai Menashe had written similar letters to every Israeli prime minister since at least Golda Meir. Soon afterward, Freund met members of the community and learned about their deep, sincere desire to join the Jewish people. This meeting ultimately drew him into helping them aliyah themselves. I'm sorry, but this is literally the maddest thing. That, like, it's also, by the way, there's actually a really interesting, like, example of this. So there are some indigenous Jewish communities from, I think, South America, who were brought over to Israel. And in the context of South America, they were marginalized. They were mistreated, and they were, like, indigenous. Well, they were natives. And then they were brought over to Israel, and they became settlers. It's why Patrick Wolf makes such a strong argument for the concept of binarism. It's very interesting and moot academic point that probably no one cares about. But if you've ever been interested why settler colonialism apparently needs binaries, there you go. Most old terms like the that lead back to the British Navy, lol, inevitably, of course. It's like how most of the racism of like many was like spread around Asia by Westerners. Also, are you a groiper? Let me see your channel message history, because I'm not a Nazi. I don't know if your name is Satire, but if you're a groiper, like, you have nothing in common with me, because I don't hate Jewish people. After Netanyahu left office in 1999, Freud joined Amishav and later founded his own organization, Shavai Israel. He said that the Aliyah process had experienced ups and downs over the years, fluctuating with shifting governments and the situation in Israel, but the Shavai managed to bring small groups almost every year. I feel like it's probably just a better option to hide the user from my channel, because I don't know. Maybe it's a joke. I don't know. That reminds me, what do you think of Peter Beinart? Oh shit, maybe we should look at Peter Beinart. I don't know. Well, I don't know. Tony Soprano Lover, the only chance I was going to give them is if the name is Satire, but I guess the message history doesn't really show that, so unfortunately I'm going to hide them from the channel. Sorry, Mr. Groiper. Well, not sorry. Over the past decade, it began to gain steam. Freund said, the government saw the B'nai Menashe as quality immigrants. I feel like this is just very weird terminology. Who are dedicated to the country, who work hard, support themselves and their families, raise beautiful Jewish children, and serve in the army and volunteer in combat units. They are a true blessing for Israel and the Jewish people. Once again, they are literally just seen as, like, good immigrants to replace Palestinians. Yeah, sorry, not sorry. Although B'nai Menashe lived Jewish lives, before arriving, they undergo a conversion process in Israel to remove any halachic doubt. Freund said most community members are young and come from Indian states such as Manipur and Mizoram, near Burma and Bangladesh. The younger generation in particular speaks English and has at least a high school education and is technologically literate. They're going to send them out to do Hasbara. On the Hasbara front lines, they're going to be getting debunked and destroyed and owned by the libs. They're being used as cannon fodder for the groipers. So, amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. Right. Yeah. Yeah, I was a little wary of them from their last couple of chats. Yeah. Yeah, but they're going to be destroyed on the front lines of the information warfare by woke Chris Kunzler and also groiper Nick Fuentes. Amazing things are happening. Freund noted that this plan had been in the works before October the 7th, but the war paused the process. There has not been a substantial aliyah of B'nai Menashe since 2021. The B'nai Menashe trace their origins back 27 centuries to the period when the Assyrian Empire ruled the region. Israel is an amazing country, because in any other country where you were justifying 27 centuries worth of people having a right to return over the actual people who were expelled and ethnically cleansed and marginalized so you could build your Jewish supremacist state, you would be like, okay, that is insane. That is genuinely insane. But yeah, they're talking about how they were just like expelled to Babylon, and how they've been there for all of this time, and how they've been dreaming for 2,700 years.
It is
when the
ridiculous.
tribes were cast into exile, and incredibly enough, we are now witness to the beginning of their return, Freund said. This is a remarkable story of Zionism, and it underlines the importance of the state of Israel as a place where even Jews who have been cut off from the rest of our people for so long are nonetheless still able to find their way back. Ugh. Erratic Arab, Canadian $2. I'll be spending that on a Timmy H's. I'll be going down to Timmy's, y'all. I'll be down in Timmy's for the breakfast pancakes with that $2. But thank you. And yes, I am a woke Arab Chris Kunzler, Qatar funded. But yeah, it's just amazing. A first delegation is expected to depart for India within a week, according to the government. Oh, why has that done that? According to the government, the group will include representatives from the Chief Rabbinate, the Conversion Authority, the Ministry of Aliyah and Integration, the Population and Immigration Authority, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the Jewish Agency. After the Sephardi Chief Rabbi approves the community lists, the immigrants will enter Israel with A5 residency visas. The selection process is very serious, and everybody is preparing for it. Howard Kipp said. Freund added, this is like a dream come true. Amazing things are happening in Israel, because if you are an Indian Jewish person, you are just allowed to go over, you're allowed to move there. But if you are a Palestinian, no. I wonder if there's like a video about B'nai Menashe. Okay.
Jewish community of...
So I24 News have given us a beautiful insight. Unpacked have done a really interesting report.
From the far east of India, in the Mizoram and Manipur regions, the Indian Jewish community of B'nai Menashe has a Joseph oral.
Okay, this music sounds definitely fucking copyrighted, so...
Ever hear of the 10 Lost Tribes of Israel? Sounds like an Indiana Jones movie, but it's actually rooted in history. The Israelites were once divided into 12 tribes, but 10 were conquered and dispersed, lost forever.
Or were they?
All over the world, different communities identify as descendants of these scattered tribes. One of these communities made a home in a remote corner of India. The B'nai Menashe claim to be descended from the tribe of Menashe. For centuries, they lived in peace, but a recent wave of violence has begun to threaten their way of life. Has the lost tribe of Menashe been in India all along? Once upon a time, the 12 tribes of Israel lived side by side under the same king, until 10 of the tribes decided to revolt, forming their own independent kingdom. But this two-state solution didn't last.
Unpacked is a very sus network, and I don't feel like watching a long video about B'nai Menashe that is made by them. I don't know why I even started that. I just want to see if there's like a...
Israel has approved a new plan to bring the remaining members...
Okay, so ILTV News is going to give us...
of India's B'nai Menashe community to Israel by 2030. The group identifies as descendants of...
Hello, Sophie.
...the biblical tribe of Manasseh, and they are among India's last Jewish communities. Our correspondent, India Naftali, has the details.
Israel's government has now approved a 5-year plan to bring the majority of the remaining B'nai Menashe community from India to Israel. The decision, submitted by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Aliyah and Integration Minister Ophir Sofer, will enable about...
His name is Ophir Sofer.
5,800 community members to make Aliyah by the year 2030. Around 1,200 are expected to arrive by the end of 2026. There are currently an estimated 5,000 B'nai Menashe already living in Israel, most having arrived over the past 2 decades under previous government initiatives. The B'nai Menashe live primarily in the northeastern Indian states of Mizoram and Manipur, within the Kuki-Chin and Mizo communities. They are descendants of the biblical tribe of Manasseh, one of the 10 lost tribes of Israel.
Controversial question, why? Because Israel is a ridiculous, fantastical state that makes absolutely no fucking sense. Like, genuinely makes no sense at all. Like, genuinely, this makes no sense. Like, the fact that Palestinians are being denied the right to return, and Israel is just bringing over Jewish people from India. It's insane. It is insane. And I think that this story kind of tells you the insanity of the early Zionist project, because sure, people should have been given refuge from the Second World War, but that should have been undertaken by the nations who bore the most responsibility for rising anti-Semitism. And all those nations who could have and had the ability to protect Jewish people, most notably America, where a huge influx of Jewish people would have had really, I mean, beyond today, where it would, like, influence voting, because generally Jewish people vote in blocks, right? Like, and even then, like, how much would it really have changed it? Because the main thing that Jewish people influence in the vote is largely on Israel, like, where Carter was, like, basically fucked because of what he did. But yeah, I mean, even that is somewhat changing because, you know, the most pro-fanatical Israel people were unable to defeat Zoran, but that wasn't even,
and are considered among India's last remaining Jewish communities. Under the plan, all new arrivals will undergo Orthodox conversion through the chief rabbinate. They will mainly settle in the north of the country, part of a broader effort to rebuild and strengthen the communities of the Galilee region following the war. Prime Minister Netanyahu called the move an important and Zionist decision, saying it will provide a boost to the north and help reunite families long divided between India and Israel. Aliyah Minister Sofer praised the decision as part of a wider wave of immigration in recent years, saying this Aliyah strengthens Israel's resilience.
Yeah, also, by the way, for anyone who's interested in the treatment of Mizrahis, look up the concept of development towns. They are like the most insane thing imaginable. So they were called development towns in part because they were like developing them. Developing the new people brought over, built predominantly in the Galilee, which is just where they send Jewish people to alter the demographics, and because it's close to the border with Lebanon. But they basically just had, so these development towns would just have one factory that was owned by an Ashkenazi, where all of the new Mizrahis were forced to work in, and then this one Mizrahi would get like, or this one like sizable class of like elite Mizrahis would just make loads of money from it. And also, by the way, when they brought over Soviet Jews to Israel, loads of the Soviet Jews complained about having to live next to black people. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. I'd recommend you'd also look into this. Anti-Semites in the chat when they smell someone criticize Israel from like a shark smelling blood. I care about genocide too, but have you ever heard of the Talmud? Yeah, like, bro, I don't know if that's like a joke or if there was someone in the chat. It's annoying when people do it, but I can just get them out because the chat's not big enough, you know, for it to be like a major issue. Whereas on TikTok, it goes too fast and the turnover of people is so quick that, like, you know, blocking thousands of people. But yeah. Is this modern capitalism? Well, probably they'll be, like, they don't speak Hebrew, so they're not going to be going to, like, they're not going to be going to, like, you know, the best places. And literally as well, when the Soviet Jews came over, they were given, like, better housing, whilst the Mizrahi Jewish people who've been there for longer were just like, why are we being denied the houses? Okay, yeah, I thought so. I didn't know if there was a new one. But yeah, like, just... Bro, I don't care about this shit. You know what I mean? Like, someone who comes in and they're like, you should check out the Talmud. And it's like, yeah, like, Israel from its inception was racist. But also, it has increasingly got racist as it has responded to context on the ground.
Solidarity and national renewal. Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich said the move marks a renewed connection of brothers who have carried the yearning for Zion for generations. A government delegation is set to travel to India within days to begin processing applications. The operation...
There he is, Mr. Herzog. Thank you, Mr. Herzog.
...will be coordinated by the Chief Rabbinate, the Conversion Authority, the Population and Immigration Authority.
But I just feel like I probably shouldn't watch any more of this because it'll probably get the thing demonetized. But I feel like in the context of this stuff, when you see a story like this, and why I would bother to point to like a story like this is because, hey, this is really weird and ridiculous. Like, right now, when Israel is looking for ways to mass expel Palestinians, yet simultaneously they're just going around the globe to look for like Jewish communities who've not lived there for thousands of years and be like, you have a connection to Israel, historically maybe, so you should live here, but Palestinians who contributed thousands of years of history to the land, well, that is meaningless and we should just erase it and get rid of them. Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know how racist Herzog is. Herzog is much more interested in, what Herzog is much more interested in is, he's very anti-race mixing, but only amongst Jews and non-Jews. So he doesn't like that. He referred to it as a plague. He's a very interesting guy, is Herzog. So I'd highly recommend that you check him out. Also, Piers Morgan is back to having very profound conversations.
Tone or indeed religious background is a pretty pathetic argument. It's a patriotism that's grounded in weakness and fragility. My patriotism is grounded in strength. I believe the ideas of English national identity, British national identity are pretty strong, and I'm not that worried about people that come to the UK with a different idea.
Konstantin Kisin is a really funny looking guy. Also, what is this panel? Ollie Dugmore, Konstantin Kisin, Cenk, and this guy?
Of what that could be, coming over here and diluting it. From Magna Carta through to now a sense of fair play unless the English are invading your country. I think, we've got a pretty good solid idea of what English values and identity are.
What are they?
I just said. I gave you a sense of civil liberty, a pride and a sense of fair play.
So people
honesty.
who believe in Sharia law, which a large number of the Muslim community in this country do believe in and want to impose, do they believe in civil liberty?
I would say the people that want to impose Sharia law,
do they comply with English values or British values as you define them?
No, I think if you want to come over and sort of overhaul the system of government in Britain, I think there's a pretty valid argument for us to say that you're probably not welcome in the country.
So what?
But also, once again, this question of what happens to Jewish people, because I don't think that most people are. I don't think most people are actually interested in this. I don't think most people are interested in doing this. I think most Muslim people come and integrate in the same way that most Jewish people are integrated.
Should we deport you for having a disagreement about civil liberty?
If you're an insurrectionist, if you're literally saying that we should introduce corporal and capital punishment in Britain,
what if you just want to vote for it? That 33% of the Muslim community, according to some estimates, believe in Sharia law, want Sharia law in Britain. Should they be able to elect people who will advocate for that?
Konstantin, you keep asking me the same question.
No, it's a different question.
I'm going to keep giving you the same answer. My idea
so,
of
answer?
what I've just told you.
Should we deport people who want Sharia law? That's what I'm asking.
If you want to overthrow the system of government, i.e. impose Sharia law instead of secular democracy, yes, I have a ginormous problem with that. Additionally, I have a ginormous problem with the British head of state being a religious figure in King Charles. I have a ginormous problem with a permanent fixture in our legislature being religious representatives. There are only two countries. There are only two countries in the world where that's the case. One is the UK, the other is Iran. I have problems with both of those things. I want us to live in a secular democracy. What happens between you and the man?
Increasingly, I don't know how much I want to live in the democracy that we have. Our democracy is so insane. Also, I'm covering Konstantin's face, but I shouldn't because this man is so interesting looking.
And that you think exists in the sky is your business.
Also, just pretty denigrating to religion, but not really surprising. And also, by the way, I don't think we should be just mass deporting people. I don't think most Muslims do want Sharia law. I feel like these polls are misleading. And I just think in the terms of these kind of commentary is just insane. By the way, Israeli soldiers apparently murdered 2 surrendering Palestinians after the Palestinians surrendered, which is just insane. But it doesn't surprise me. And Fania Oz-Salzberger is saying that this is a Netanyahu thing. Israelis have been executing Palestinians completely extrajudicially for a very long time. It happened during the Second Intifada. I won't bring that up, but yeah. I won't bring up the videos of what's just happened, but yeah. I think that is probably everything on the Indian Jews. So now we're going to talk about probably what some of you are here for, which is Trump being an insane guy. Actually, are we? Because there was something which I thought about and I really wanted to watch, but I've now forgotten and I don't remember. So let's watch this. Also, by the way, I'm going to apologize before this starts. The audio on this I found really headache-inducing.
Great fellow Americans. Earlier today, on the eve of the Thanksgiving holiday, 2 members of the National Guard serving in Washington, D.C., were shot at point-blank range in a monstrous ambush-style attack just steps away from the White House. They had been deputized as part of the most successful public safety and national security mission in the history of our nation's capital. The D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force which has achieved an unprecedented reduction in violent crime and crimes of all type. This heinous assault was an act of evil, an act of hatred, and an act of terror. It was a crime against our entire nation.
What is wrong with the microphone? Do you think because he's fired so many people, do you think Doge just like banned them from having an okay and working microphone? Because you don't have to have a high level of competency to fix this.
It was a crime against humanity. The hearts of all Americans tonight.
Also, by the way, it would definitely not meet the definition of a crime against humanity. But the crime against humanity is quite a funny concept at the best of time, because most people who talk about crimes against humanity don't care about crimes against humanity. Like, apartheid is a crime against humanity. Also, Lonerbox said he doesn't want to debate till next Wednesday, which I'm now not going to do, because maybe I'll do, depends what's going on next week, but I've got to do stuff on Friday. My girlfriend is coming to the UK again, so exciting stuff.
Are with those two members of the West Virginia National Guard and their families. The love of our entire country is pouring out for them, and we are lifting them up in our prayers. As we are filled with anguish and grief for those who were shot, we're also filled with righteous anger and ferocious resolve. As President of the United States, I am determined to ensure that the animal who perpetrated this atrocity pays the steepest possible price. I can report tonight that based on the best available information, the Department of Homeland Security is confident that the suspect in custody is a foreigner.
What is once again up with this? Like, it's not doing... you're saying there was a huge wave of layoffs of broadcast people. I mean, fair enough. It's probably the reason, but it's kind of insane. It is kind of insane. It also just looks like a weird video again, because this isn't even some janky thing. Like, why am I getting this from the official, White House account? And also, by the way, just on this topic of, like, the stuff he's saying here, the fact he's using animal and the thing he later says is insane. But this, I mean, like, already this has produced a crazy amount of conspiracy theories. But at the same time, why does this video look so weird? And once again, I feel like it may factor into something which increasingly I've been thinking about. I think when Trump has to deliver, like, an instantaneous response, that something is funny is going on, in the sense of maybe some AI is being used because he doesn't have the capacity to actually deliver something like this live anymore, and that every time he's out and about is specifically when he's doing better. Because do you remember that health scare? Obviously Trump hadn't died and we took it a bit far and, like, you know, some of it was a joke, but at the same time, what is going on? Like, it sounds so bad.
Who entered our country from Afghanistan, a hellhole on earth. He was flown in by the Biden administration in September 2021 on those infamous flights that everybody was talking about. Nobody knew who was coming in. Nobody knew anything about it. His status was extended under legislation signed by President Biden, a disastrous president, the worst in the history of our country. This attack underscores the single greatest national security threat.
He's moving really, really, really robotically. I'm sorry, there's just something odd. He was a CIA agent. Well, he works in collaboration, allegedly, with someone who was, like, denied their CIA thing. But I don't get this. I don't think it, by the way, I don't think it's at all a false flag. I think that there's actually, like, a very logical explanation to this. But this video is actually perplexing me. He moves so robotically, like he did in that one after the "We are Charlie Kirk." We have to say the whole thing, but yeah. The leading theory right now among editors...
It is utterly ridiculous.
The leading theory right now among editors is that they are using AI to splice together a coherent take since Trump cannot stick to a script. I don't get it, though. I guess, actually, whenever you see him delivering much, it looks like he reads off a teleprompter. But it's just weird. This video looks so weird. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. You guys know this about me. But, like, what is this? This is just so odd. And yeah, thanks for the 6 months, Terra. Fucking crazy. Trevor Trove Tales. Thank you for being such a great and valued member for all of this time. Yeah, he was in an Afghani death squad that collaborated with the CIA. I remember when I listened to Blowback, one of the crazy things that they talked about in the thing, one of the crazy things that they talked about when it came to this is, is that basically people in Afghanistan realized that if you just told the like associated organizations with the CIA and stuff, okay, this person is a Taliban guy, they would probably just go and kill them without asking questions. And so you could just go and get one of your enemies, like a sort of problematic businessman or something who was encroaching on you. You could just get them killed. But even if it's heavily edited right, why does he move so unnaturally and not like he normally does? I reckon it's like, you know, when a footballer has an injury and they just stab him full of injections and stuff. Also, crazy there are 409 people in you here today, and it feels like not a big news day, and it's been pretty consistent. I think getting out VODs is such a big help for growing the channel. So shout out my king, Ethan's Basement. He's going to cook up a Lebanon one, and thank you all for watching, donating, and becoming members. Like, seriously, you have already won the battle of the lives. You defeated the TikTok live, and now you're forcing me into streaming more. So, sorry, I'll get back to this topic at hand. But just one quick housekeeping piece, and I'll get better, by the way, at doing these. I'm just thinking now I shouldn't be doing them in the middle. I won't be live tomorrow, because me and Isaac are recording the first episode of the podcast. Then I'll probably do a live on Saturday. Well, I think I will, depending if there's news or not. And if there's not, I might just watch the Hassan trigonometry thing. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. First timer, man. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. I'm glad you're here.
Facing our nation. The last administration let in 20 million unknown and unvetted foreigners from all over the world, from places that you don't want to even know about. No country can tolerate such a risk to our very survival. An example is Minnesota, where hundreds of thousands of Somalians are ripping.
Wait, just a second. Sorry. And I know this is kind of like an odd thing to be focusing on in the face of, like, you know, news like this. Look at the way he moves. It's really similar across the whole thing, where he'll do like a Trump movement of going, like, you know, moving his body. Like, Trump has a real thing about, like, moving his hands and his body. But yeah, it's really weird. This video is really weird. I am increasingly becoming radicalized by watching this stuff on the internet. There's something so odd about this. And once again, this is posted by the Rapid Response White House. It only goes up to 720p, which is interesting.
Off our country and ripping apart that once great state. Billions of dollars are lost, and gangs of Somalians come from a country that doesn't even have a government, no laws, no water, no military, no nothing. As their representatives in our country preach to us about our Constitution and how our country is no good.
Your country is no good. Fuck your country.
We're not going to put up with these kind of assaults on law and order by people who shouldn't even be in our country. We must now re-examine every single alien who has entered our country from Afghanistan under Biden, and we must take all necessary measures to ensure the removal of any alien from any country who does not belong here or add benefit to our country. If they can't love our country, we don't want them. America.
Really troubling things are happening. It's funny as well because perhaps this will be the moment that Charlie Kirk wasn't, that we were talking about the other day. You know how, like, people thought that the Charlie Kirk shooting was going to be this major thing of, like, well, because this Charlie Kirk thing happened, there's going to be a major crackdown. It actually feels like already this is of a bigger crackdown because there's stuff to get into. But yeah, if your country is great, why are you surprised that so many people want to get in? Yeah, of course. And like, once again, this is a direct policy of bizarre US, well, not bizarre, but like Cold War era policy of just interfering in people's countries, tearing them to shreds because that was fitting with what you needed at that time, and then complaining at the consequences of people not wanting to live in destabilized countries. I don't know. That senior usually get in their hands. That's why he covers them and seems more active after them. I think it is that. Like, I literally said that. But you know when you're playing football, so Alan Shearer, who's like a very famous British footballer, I heard talk about this. Apparently, football players often play with, like, considerable pain and stuff. And one of the things they do is just shove them full of, like, injections. And it wouldn't surprise me if that is actually correct, that Trump is having injections. And why at a moment like this, getting Trump up for an impromptu speech is so much harder than getting him at like a really good time in front of, you know, like reporters. And even when it's a really good time, he doesn't look great. I mean, we heard him reading off the McDonald's Burger Rice meetup, which I should have made into a VOD, by the way. That was stupid not to. But yeah, I think that this is weird.
Will never bend and never yield in the face of terror. And at the same time, we will not be deterred from the mission these service members were so nobly fulfilling. That is why tonight I can announce that I have directed the Department of War to mobilize an additional 500 troops to help protect our capital city. We will make America totally safe again, and we will bring the perpetrator of this barbaric attack to swift and certain justice. If the
his head is moving really unnaturally as well.
It is utterly ridiculous.
Maybe I'm just insane, but yeah. Dirty War's book, US Interference Destroyed Somalia. I don't know much about that, but it doesn't surprise me. I will say this much. When someone put it the other day as, can you name a time where the US was on the right side? Also, I've been finishing the Jamba anti-communist meetup. I've been finishing Blowback, finally. Have any of you heard, I'm sure some of you have, the Democratic International, which was also called the Jamba, where they didn't attend, but the governments of Israel and South Africa supported the idea, and the people at this were Jonas Savimbi, a guy who's portrayed, like, lovingly in Call of Duty Black Ops 1, which I don't even remember, Adolfo Calero, and they also tried to invite the fucking Khmer Rouge. I am sorry, as much as you can say Vietnam bad, Ho Chi Minh bad, they got rid of the Khmer Rouge. America framed them as like good anti-communist heroes. Too much Tylenol. Yeah, Trump has OD'd on Tylenol. That's why he's been so problematic.
It's going in the opposite direction. Haven't already done that. During this time of the year, when we gather at home with loved ones, these two patriots were wearing the uniform of our country, patrolling.
That movement is not natural to me. That movement is not natural. Look at this.
Wearing the uniform of our country, patrolling the streets of our capital. They had taken a selfless oath to defend our nation against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that is exactly what they were doing when they were gunned down in a savage attack. I want to express my extraordinary gratitude to every member of the United States military who is deployed tonight at home and abroad. I also want to thank the Secret Service and the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department for their work today. This Thanksgiving, I ask every family to say a prayer for the two great heroes who were so horribly shot, and for their loved ones. Please say a prayer. May God bless them and comfort them, and may God bless and protect the United States.
The least godless man in the entire world. But amazing thing, someone commented, Baron, come on, turn on the computer. Dad has to speak. That's not who he's talking to. Baron's his little Jarvis, so yeah, maybe he gets him. But he calls up Baron and he says, Baron, we're going to need Grok unhinged mode. And then he gets it to write him a speech and make an AI of him saying it. And then go over and over again. Grok, go more unhinged. And Elon's just laughing in the corner going, oh, USA, USA, Grok is unhinged. But this man is just so incredibly horrible, and this speech is just getting so much worse. Okay, wait. Rapid response. Let's check if it's the same. Response, White House. Do they have the White House? Okay, yeah. It's not even up on YouTube. This video, it's just not on YouTube. But I'm just comparing this to this one.
Spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than...
Even if the video is real, right? His eyes are so closed. This is definitely like a real video because we got, I mean, this is the gang. This is the future gang of 5, like Jiang Qing, who gets put on trial. We got Hegseth, drunk, Marco Rubio, many things to say about him. The worst and most hated man in America right now. The man who stole Erica from our dear Charlie after she was killed. He was killed, sorry. And then we have Donald. This is the future gang of 5.
We have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps...
He does kind of do the erratic moving, so maybe I'm just wrong, but like, I don't know, there's something really weird about that.
The most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. A short...
Why are his eyes so closed in this video? Like,
of America.
It just feels like they never open
Targets
at all. Like versus this
left.
one. His eyes look so... Maybe it's just angles and maybe I'm just going insane, but I don't know. Like, I really am not that big a conspiracy theorist, but yeah.
Pleased to inform you, the American people...
And and the other thing is he's using the same audio. Let me see if I can find it.
My great fellow Americans, earlier today on the eve of the Thanksgiving holiday.
I don't know if this channel has just ripped it straight from Twitter, but this is also weird.
Two members of the National Guard serving in Washington, D.C. were shot at point-blank range in a mine.
The audio's bad here. I don't know what is going on. Sophie may be right that it's just that it was, you know, that it was all like, that it's just that they fired too many people.
That there are enforcement, these...
Well, should they...
Pension...
But yeah, I mean, there's also a bit which I think, that we've missed. I mean, Kash Patel is probably saying something insane. Trump.
I can report tonight.
So here's maybe a slightly better one.
Report tonight that based on the best available information, the Department of Homeland Security is confident that the suspect in custody is a foreigner who entered our country from Afghanistan, a hellhole on earth.
Yeah, sorry, we did miss it. He called it a hellhole on earth. I mean, no doubt Kash Patel's been up to some bangers. Where's Kash Patel?
Behind me, we have... You can see behind me, we have assembled the full force of both the federal and state and local law enforcement agencies.
I mean, Kash Patel just looks like AI anyway, because his movements are even more insane than Donald Trump's. This guy's a very unusual looking man.
To bring bear all of our resources to make sure we find the perpetrators responsible for this heinous act. And make no mistake, they will be brought to justice. You can see...
Oh, Jesus Christ. But yeah, I mean, I guess I didn't even really contextualize the context of what this is. So if you don't know, there was a shooting in DC, and there was a shooting in DC of 2 National Guards by an Afghan national, and it's provoked a lot of interest on Twitter. The man who carried it out is a man named Ramanullah Lakanval? Probably Lakanval. But yeah, here we have NBC reporting.
Or so. A suspect has now apparently been identified in that shooting of 2 National Guard troops in D.C. I want to bring in our national law enforcement and intelligence correspondent, Tom Winter. All right, Tom, bring us up to speed.
Yeah, Hallie, 4 senior U.S. law enforcement officials briefed on the investigation say they've identified the man they believe is responsible for shooting of those 2 National Guardsmen who are now in critical condition. They've identified the individual as Rahmanullah Lakanwal. Date of birth is February 9th, 1996. Last known address is in Bellingham, Washington. This individual was identified through, he did not have an ID on him. We have a photo of him being put into a stretcher, had been stripped of his clothing or had very limited clothing, apparently at the time of this incident occurring, as he targeted these two National Guardsmen, used a handgun to commit it. Apparently he's an Afghan national. I was still trying to get some details on his immigration history, but they were able to use a kind of a rapid fingerprint type technology that is completely electronic. So take out of your heads kind of the Law and Order version where they put the ink on your fingers and check from there. This is all digital, and we're able to check that against the database and come up with this individual's identification. Having seen a photo that we're still trying to confirm of this person and a photo of this person that was on the stretcher, they do appear to be the same individual. So again, Rock Manula or Rob Manula, lock and
irony in Chris calling someone else an unusual looking man. Yeah, maybe you're not wrong about that, but I feel that Kash Patel is just very unusual in terms of his eyes.
Wall from Bellingham, Washington, an Afghan national born in 1996 is the person that the FBI now believes is responsible for this. And as we've been reporting, and as NBC News was first to report tonight, in fact, the FBI is investigating this initially as a potential act of terrorism. Of course, motives can change.
What do you call it terrorism when the guy worked for you for like many years in Afghanistan and you were happy to use and weaponize him to go out and kill Afghans and undertake your horrifying policies over there?
In the course of the investigation, they can look into that. But at least initially here, this is going to be led by the Joint Terrorism Task Force in Washington, D.C. And this information is now being shared with law enforcement agencies, we're told, across the country, just given the fact that they want to check up on all these things. Certainly officials here in New York are aware of this information. We're told from officials in D.C. Because they wanted people in the law enforcement agencies here in New York to be aware of who this person was, to see if there's any ties, anybody they need to check, with tomorrow being
ties to the CIA.
The 99.
But like, I don't think it's a false flag at all, because like I just don't find it implausible that someone who served in the ministry, like I don't think that they served in the who served alongside the CIA. I don't think it's that outrageous. Oh, look at their history. They're just a fun guy. Mate, I don't care about people calling me unattractive. Like, what's it gonna do?
Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Right now, there is not believed to be any sort of specific or credible threat to that, according to an NYPD briefing.
Tom, can I ask you something? And I don't want us to get over our skis here on this, but you point out that the last known location of the suspect was in Washington State, obviously across the country from Washington, D.C. Is there any reason to believe, on the basis of the sources you're talking to, that this individual traveled across the country for the purpose of carrying out this attack? Had they already been, spending time or living in D.C. for a little bit? Do we not know?
That's probably the number one question that they're trying to figure out at this time. Check back on travel schedules, figure out how this person got there. They do have information as far as their driver's license and vehicle. They'll check that. There's obviously license plate readers. We've seen that come into such use by law enforcement over the past several years. And just this year, you look at New Year's Day, that information was so helpful in trying to determine the location and how the individual that attacked New Orleans on New Year's Day, and also remember the incident at the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. That individual who had an incendiary device that arrived at the hotel there, they were able to trace that person's travels through the license plate reader.
Yeah, I mean, that was an insane story. Is that the guy who just blew up his Tesla? Who even was that? Vision out Trump Tower. Who was that guy? He just shot himself. Authorities found that the vehicle contained firework mortars and gas canisters. Matthew Allen Liversberg, an American-born and active-duty U.S. Army Special Forces soldier. Was there ever convey a political message and ease his mental burden? This is sent an email stating. I mean, his claim apparently is Livelsberger also sent an email manifesto stating that he was under surveillance due to his knowledge of advanced military technologies and covert operations, including an alleged cover-up of war crimes. The manifesto narrative, which detailed plans to escape across the border, showed no intent and conflicts with two digital letters, apparently authored earlier that month. Oh, God. Weird stuff. Weird stuff. Who knows about that one? But this one, I think it could be something to do with just this guy being, you know, also, well, I think also discerning people's motives for doing this stuff as like generally rationally and like of sound mind people in here. Maybe some of you aren't the person who said that I was not a conventionally good looking man, which I don't like. But of all people in sound mind, I feel like trying to understand someone who does this is really hard because, you know, someone who's like blowing up their car outside Trump Tower is interesting, and it's not outside of the realm of possibility that many people who are, you know, like the people who serve in the Israeli military are, the Israeli American military have, you know, have mental issues and end up doing kind of problematic things as a result of their service. Also, by the way, I will say one thing. He shot himself with a Deagle, which Israeli-made weapon. I don't know, bro. Maybe he's been playing too much CSGO or CS2. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, interesting story thus far, but it really gets interesting that this is definitely confirmed. The guy did work for the CIA, or like alongside the CIA.
Identification. So all of that, Hallie, will go into the investigation, but you've asked the question that law enforcement is desperately trying to figure out at this hour.
And I know you're working the phones to try to figure that out. Tom Winter, thank you for jumping in front of a camera with that developing news late tonight. Appreciate that.
I don't know what is going on, but yeah. So right, I kind of want to get into the conspiracy element of it. So I first saw it through this post. So even though it's small, I know it's no longer small. It's quite a popular post. It's by The Patriot Voice, obviously a very reliable source who we should probably be listening to. Rahmanullah Lakanval, the name of the dude who just killed 2 National Guard soldiers. I don't think he did kill them. And was subsequently given asylum status by the Trump administration, actually served alongside US Special Forces in Afghanistan for 10 years. Because, of course, he did. Not only that, but his name is pegged... By the way, I couldn't find this Google Trends thing. I'm not sure I believe that. From May 26 months ago. Why is that? Also today, 10:56 hours before the attack. Oh, and icing on the cake, it's been revealed that Rahmanullah was also part of the Kandahar Strike Force, a CIA paramilitary proxy group. CIA MK Ultra. You no longer have to guess if this is a false flag. It's smacking us right in the face. So this is where it was first confirmed. Like, actually, this has been confirmed for hours. I don't know why I'm acting as if it's some kind of new thing. A close relative of the suspected shooter of 2 National Guard members said that the suspect served alongside US Special Forces in Afghanistan before coming to the US. This relative said Rahmanullah Lakanval arrived in the US in September 2021 after serving in the Afghan army for 10 years alongside US Special Forces troops. He was stationed at a base in Kandahar for part of that time, the relative said. He came to the US after the Taliban took over and eventually settled in Washington state, the relative said. This close relative served with Lakanval supporting US troops and was injured during his time in uniform. We were the ones that were targeted by the Taliban in Afghanistan, the relative said. I cannot believe that he might do this, he said. Lakanval grew up in the Khost province, the relative said. The relative said Lakanval had a wife and 5 boys, but this relative has not spoken to Lakanval in several months. I don't know what happened, the relative said with a shaky voice. I need your help to know why this happened, he said, breaking down in tears. And so apparently this is the Google Trends. I'm not so sure I'm believing of this. And this is allegedly his thing. He's 29. Surely he didn't serve 10 years. Yeah, no, I don't think he would have served 10 years. That can't be true. 5 kids at 29. Yeah, he's doing 5 kids better than me. So, fair play, bro. Well, you know, probably not fair play. You're in prison, G. And then my entire thing is just, he definitely worked for them, by the way. That 10-year thing, don't know if it's true. But, yeah. Why do people compare Chris to Harry Potter? Because people say it because they're just like, British glasses, Harry Potter, Harry Potter. British glasses, Harry Potter, Harry Potter. So, Rahmanullah Lakanval Alleged shooter of 2 National Guards in DC previously served in a death squad, NDS-03, one of Afghanistan's elite counterterrorism units operated by the CIA. A US-backed militia that kills children may be part of America's exit strategy from its longest war. He joined the paramilitary group at 1415. Really? I mean, that's plausible. I guess in Afghanistan you haven't got much going for you in certain places. But yeah, for me, I'm not so sure that I'm quick to believe that there's a false flag. But this is actually being reported by what looks to be, multiple institutions have reported this now.
That he comes here from Afghanistan in the...
Here we go. So this is someone who's apparently the Trump administration was shocked.
No, is that he comes here from Afghanistan in the summer of 2021. He applies for asylum in December of 2024. Now he goes through another vetting process involving that, and he's approved for asylum in April of this year under the Trump administration.
Kind of crazy that he was approved for asylum under the Trump administration. But I think that the bigger story for me, or the most interesting part, is that now Trump is basically planning to suspending the processing of all immigration requests, or he actually already has. The US has suspended immigration requests for Afghans after National Guard shooting. So they suspended it instantaneously, and blaming people from being a hellhole. Like, look, what this guy did, I don't think we should excuse anyone who just goes out and commits war crimes. Whether he himself committed war crimes, I guess we don't know. He was just part of a group that were. I don't think we should judge these people necessarily, especially in a context like Afghanistan, where the Taliban were objectively bad. Like, the Taliban were not good, and being targeted by them, you know, I don't carry the same kind of, like, ire towards someone who served in like a Western military. But yeah, like, I mean, it's like, you know, I think when this guy comes back to America and kills 2 National Guard after being part of like a collaboration force, because one, you're targeted by an organization that the US bears huge responsibility in bringing to power. You know, I think in bringing to power in the case of the Taliban in terms of a crazy withdrawal and all of this stuff. I think it's just insane to sit here and like be like, Afghans all deserve banning. This is you. And it's the same when the UK complains about it. This is us. If you want to fundamentally deal with immigration, you have to look at what it actually is a consequence of, and not just try and address the symptoms of it. You have to deal with the like kind of malaise that produces it. And the malaise is not immigration or the people who immigrate. That's always going to happen. The UK was a net exporter of people until the 1980s, really. But the malaise of it really comes from fucking up people's countries, and also, you know, the way in which this world is set up economically, where we have over and over again exploited people, where we have just over and over again exploited countries and created situations in which there are no economic opportunities for people, and so they make very hard decisions and carry out often dangerous and arduous journeys to get here. They might collaborate with the US, risk their life, participate in horrifying war crimes and violence, or be part of the structure that enables that, just for a hope at a better life. And that is a really troubling thing. And so when someone comes over and shoots 2 National Guards, I won't be shedding tears for the stormtroopers of the Trump regime at all. Like, I don't have any, you know, like, but I think that, like, ultimately this is just chickens coming home to roost. You know? I think that, like, ultimately when I see Trump talking like this and they're like, oh, I can't believe these evil criminals come over here, it is a direct product. I mean, already, we were literally looking at this the other day. The place where immigration is increasing in Europe is Spain, because Venezuelans want to go to Spain because of the language. You know? Venezuelans want to come to Spain because of the language. In the UK, it's people with places who speak the language. And yeah, imperial boomerang. Indeed, it is the imperial boomerang, in the sense of these policies have blowback for us. And, like, I think that this is another problem. Like, I believe that the Ariana Grande concert bombing was carried out by the Manchester Arena bombing, was carried out by an Islamic extremist who Abedi. So the guy is the guy who carried it out, right? This Abedi guy during the Libyan civil war was like driving trucks around as an 11-year-old. And if this guy really was operating with the US from the age of 10 to 14 and carried out violence in America, are you really surprised that that happened? Like, are you really surprised? And like, this one is obviously a far worse situation, like what happened at the Ariana Grande concert. And he was motivated by US-led intervention in the Syrian civil war. He apparently drove trucks during the Libyan civil war and as like a child, and was radicalized in part by that. And so, like, I think when you look at what happened and how he reached this situation, it's horrifying. It's horrifying that this is a direct result of our policies around the world. And like, someone would be like, oh, you're justifying it. And it's kind of like, nah, do you not see that there is like a whole generation of young people whose option is basically to come here because they want a better life. And then when they don't get it and it doesn't fix all of their problems, you know? He was born in Manchester to a Salafi refugees. He had 2 brothers, blah, 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 blah. Abedi's father was a member of the Libyan Islamic fighting group, a Salafi jihadist, as part of the movement. Abedi's parents, both born in Tripoli, remained in Libya until 2011. I think he moved to Libya. I'm not 100% sure. I thought I'd heard that. Where does it say this? Maybe I've got this wrong. Maybe I was categorically wrong about that. Who accused the teacher. He also reportedly... I thought I'd heard that he was driving trucks. Maybe I'm just wrong. Oh, maybe I've categorically got that wrong. Maybe I'm thinking of someone else. But either way, I mean, like, all of this comes from US-led intervention. Abedi was injured in Ashdabia that year while fighting for an Islamist group. The brothers were rescued from Tripoli. When was he there? Oh, no, he did. I don't think I was wrong. Yeah. So he was what? 6? So he was 17 doing that. Crazy. And then he eventually met with members of ISIS. And then he was outgoing and consumed alcohol. So insane. I didn't get the story that mixed up, but maybe I'm thinking of someone else where he was literally just fighting. I wouldn't all be surprised to learn this here, but I feel like it's more likely that he has PTSD and thought the soldiers were after him. I mean, quite possibly. But yeah, like in terms of like people from foreign countries that are torn apart and then engage in militancy in them and then end up coming over to the UK and see horrible, heinous violence. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, awful. But this story, so there's more to this story, sorry. I was kind of like just sort of talking about something else. So there's OSINT defender said he worked for the Kandahar Strike Force and all other CIA-backed paramilitary groups under the Afghan National Directorate of Security carried out some seriously wild operations in Afghanistan, many of which were filled with reports of human rights abuses and extrajudicial killings against civilians who were seen as loyal to the Taliban. Rahmanullah Lakanval, the 29-year-old, so yeah, it's just mentioning how he was there. He engaged in night raids and assassinations against the against the Taliban or alleged Taliban people. Guardian. And this is not a conspiracy theory at all, by the way. Suspect in Washington, D.C. National Guard shooting had ties to CIA agency, it confirms. So you get this guy to go and inflict violence all over Afghanistan. He has no other option of like where he can go because he cannot remain in Afghanistan. He ends up coming here, inflicts violence, and then apparently he is like a monstrous animal when you were literally fine probably with him doing far more animalistic and violent things towards civilians in Afghanistan.
The two National Guards men that we're talking about are Sarah Beckstrom, who's 20 years old, and Andrew Wolf, who is 24 years old. They were uniformed members of the West Virginia National Guard, and they were in D.C. to keep D.C. safe, pursuant to President Trump's executive order to make D.C. safe and beautiful.
They've got a better microphone here.
They answered the call. They took the charge. They volunteered. They put their lives on the line.
I'm not actually sure we want Kash Patel being covered because I'm sure he's doing amazing things. Also, what is with this FBI patch? What is that?
For people they don't even know. And that, unfortunately, is becoming a reality more and more for the members of law enforcement.
The FBI is leading out.
Kash, it's good to see you, man. See you in I thought we were going to see you in Valhalla, pal.
Out on these federal assault on a federal law enforcement officer investigation on many fronts. We immediately, with our law enforcement partners in the Metropolitan Police Department and the interagency, secured the scene, seized the weapon, sent in our evidence response team immediately to collect evidence, and started doing block-by-block canvasses. We are looking for and interviewing witnesses. The firearm and other materials have been sent to our Quantico laboratory already yesterday for immediate analysis. That work is ongoing. Partnering with the D.C. United States Attorney's Office, we have also executed multiple search warrants around the country to include the subject's last known residence, which is in the state of Washington.
Yeah, I really don't think appointing Kash Patel was a great idea because I feel like he just also makes somehow just his like general conduct, and especially the Epstein stuff, where he went from being like Epstein sort of conspiracy theorist, if you can even call it a conspiracy theorist at this point, how he went from basically that to then denying that Epstein was even killed is crazy.
Washington. The search warrant was executed on that house last night or early this morning, and it is an ongoing process. All the individuals found in the house have been interviewed, and some interviews remain ongoing. We will not stop until we interview anyone and everyone associated with the subject, the house, and every piece of his life. There is...
Really interesting that he called him the subject. Isn't he the suspect? Qualification, Podcast Bro. Yeah, I don't actually think making a Podcast Bro, you know, the sort of CIA director was a good idea. I mean, they mishandled the shit out of the Charlie Kirk stuff. Like, genuinely, the stuff going on there was truly unbelievable. But this here is amazing. By the way, I also just saw someone calling it a false flag, which I don't actually care for the rhetoric of. But what he did say was, like, this person was literally praised for probably participating in killings of innocent Afghans. And if he did, he would have been. And then because he kills 2 American soldiers, you know, apparently he's an animalistic monster. I think that there's much to be said about that.
Is confirmation now that the subject had a relationship in Afghanistan with partner forces. We are fully investigating that aspect of his background as well, to include any known associates that are either overseas or here in the United States of America. That is what a broad-based international terrorism investigation looks like.
Do you know, after 9/11, one of my professors told me that whilst he was in the US, that like he was questioned by like federal law enforcement agents who came up to him and said, they were like, have you ever met Osama bin Laden? And he was like, I study like ancient Islamic history. I've never been to Pakistan. Like, or he was like, I've never been anywhere near where Bin Laden was. What are you talking about? No doubt that Kash Patel is just like sending out like random idiots. But this person is saying that it's a false flag because the massive overreaction and immediate politicization of the shooting. I think in certain contexts, though, you just wouldn't apply that. Like the stabbing on the train, which produced a huge overreaction in terms of, like, do you remember, like, it was huge, and it was hugely politicized. It's obviously, like, a really, you know, horrifying event, but it was, like, hugely politicized instantaneously. It's just what it actually fits with much more, which is to demonize Afghans, which already were quite predisposed against Islamists, especially now in, American and British society. We're very, very, very much against them. But the overreaction is always what they do. Exactly. The overreaction is not even an overreaction at a certain point because it is standard. And also, a TV star is president. Yeah, I think I agree with you. Also, sorry, I just want to go back. I do think that Kash Patel DIY'd the badge, by the way.
Myself and my...
So we went from having the guy DIYing his own patch to someone now much more serious, an alcoholic racist. So let's hear what Mr. Alcoholic Racist has to say.
Team were notified that 2 National Guardsmen have been shot in Washington, D.C., critically wounded. The shooter shot in a cowardly, dastardly act.
Dastardly is an interesting term to use. I don't think I hear many people call it dastardly.
Targeting the best of America, heroes willing to serve in Washington, D.C., serve for people they don't know and they've never met.
I mean, they certainly weren't heroes, I'll put it that way.
Because they love their...
I don't think people participating in Trump's oppression of, the general populace are heroes.
Country and their capital and their community. They were willing to do dangerous things, others were not, because they love their fellow Americans. Someone decided to turn that into targeting National Guardsmen. That will only stiffen our resolve. We will never back down. We will secure our capital. We will secure our cities. In fact, this happened just steps away from the White House. It will not stand. And that's why President Trump has asked me, and I will ask the Secretary of the Army, to the National Guard, to add 500 additional troops, National Guardsmen, to Washington, D.C. This will only stiffen our resolve to ensure that we make Washington, D.C. safe and beautiful. The drop in crime has been historic. The increase in safety and security has been historic. But if criminals want to conduct things like this, violence against America's best, we will never back down.
Where did Pete Hegseth even serve? Because, come on, Trump is complicit, but I think you are even more complicit. Did he serve in Afghanistan? Yeah, he did serve in Afghanistan. It's also just so funny because America has no problem, no problem, just pardoning war criminals, or at least Trump didn't during his previous administration. Did he just say stiffen our resolve? I think some of you asking questions about how many beers he's had. Maybe we got some questions. I heard someone say that apparently he does press-up competitions with his brother the whole time.
President Trump will never back down. That's why the American people elected him. America and our warriors, our National Guardsmen, are strong. And so we're following this very closely. We're getting information rapidly. I mentioned the...
What do you think Graham Plattner has tweeted? This is why I love killing those damn Afghans so much. Vote for me. I don't know if he's actually posted about it. I don't think he's posted about it. His last post was about this. 2 decades ago, Susan Collins voted to send me and my friends to kill and die in a meaningless war. It's on the verge of that happening again.
The faith of this country, the Christian faith, the prayers. I would ask for prayers for our National Guardsmen.
Excuse me, Mr.
Appeals to heaven.
I can't tell what's worse, that or the thing of what's his name going, see you in Valhalla, brother. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Graham Plattner was like, we gotta kill more Afghans overseas. I'm an oyster farmer, and I want to direct my labor against killing Afghans overseas. I'm the leftist.
For our National Guardsmen, for their families, on bended knee as a War Department, as a nation.
Excuse me.
He is probably pissed as fuck because he had plans to sink 100 beers over Thanksgiving, so he's now got to deal with this.
We will never back down. Don't we think about them right now?
Venezuela.
We had a couple of great, productive meetings with the President and Minister of Defense here, where we are dedicated to the counter-cartel effort here. Criminality knows no boundaries, whether it's the United States of America and in Washington, D.C., or it's the Caribbean and the Western Hemisphere, we are going to go after narco-terrorists. It will not stand. Our borders will be secure, whether it's the Dominican Republic or the United States of America, and we look forward to working with our partners to make it happen. You know,
your partners are literally the guys who were this guy. Just like someone who was in a death squad. Someone had a great tweet here. So the CIA, apparently this is a photo from his Facebook. Really odd looking image. But yeah, crazy that we do actually have a long-standing immigration program for members of death squads. Yes, so does the UK, and it's not really talked about. Chris, hello iDubbbz. You gotta squeeze that in more often. Yeah, I guess I do. I guess I do have to squeeze that in. My sincerest apologies.
President Trump believes in a clear principle: peace through strength. You get peace by being strong. And if you're a narco-terrorist who wants to bring drugs to the United States of America, we will find you, we will fix you, and we will finish you.
God, the way they speak is so unusual. We will find you, fix you, and finish you. Between him and Trump, these guys have been saying some absolutely crazy stuff, and indeed a real legend of YouTube. My my 14-year-old self, my inner 14-year-old self is going crazy. It's like when I told my friends, I was like, I like iDubbbz as, you know, I've sent a message to iDubbbz or he follows me, and my friends were like, oh my God, I can't believe that. Like when we were obviously, you know, many years ago on YouTube. In the same way that being in H3's fucking thumbnail, it still excites my friends, and they're like, what?
Because we have all the rights in the world. We've got lots of attorneys and lots of intel analysts, and we know exactly who we're targeting and why. If you're involved in that conduct, we will kill you.
Oh my God. This isn't, by the way, this isn't even Robert Jenrick, Special Forces. This isn't even some new unique thing to America, so I shouldn't mock. Robert Jenrick posted an unbelievable video where
it's that deadly serious because of the poison that has made its way into the American public for far too long.
It is
President
utterly
Trump
ridiculous.
is serious about it.
Thanks for the membership, PewterChip, and yeah, it's nice to see you, as always.
We're serious about it, and we're proud to be working with the Dominican Republic, another country very serious about ensuring that cartels don't set the agenda. We do.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, this guy just wants his Thanksgiving beers, I'm gonna be frank. But like on this, I'm just trying to find this, because, this video of Robert Jenrick. Okay, I think I've found it. Robert Jenrick claimed that courts are like preventing UK special here it is. It might not load. So he claimed that UK special forces were committing war crimes and killing civilians rather than doing anything about it. Also, fuck, why has it not gone off? Sophie, I missed that. I missed the 5 memberships. Thank you so much. Shimsanji, nice. Connor Connor already had one. Smealikit, I don't know how that is. Magpie 5623. Also, thank you so much as always. I know I've said it, but yeah. Sophie, as always. I just wish it would play the fucking thing. Henry was confident yesterday, telling me, no, it'll play. And then I told him, no, it won't. And look who won now. But yeah, so we've got this guy who is like an Ozempic or a Monjaro lover. An Ozempic Monjaro lover who took these drugs, is married to a Jewish woman and just like adores Israel. And the reason I bring this up is because he like constantly goes on about how like his family's under threat, and he says that we need to have a Star of David in front of like on every single entry point to the UK. He is truly an amazing character. Yeah, sorry Henry, you've been hung out to dry. But it is just incredible that you can just be in a death squad. So he was, so Hamid Karzai, this is the guy who oversaw it. So he was alleged to have been a very corrupt guy, The New York Times stated that he may have been involved in the Afghan opium heroin trade. This was denied by Karzai, who dismisses all the charges and propaganda and stated he was the victim of vicious politics. I hate it when I run a death squad and that I become the victim of vicious politics. Yeah, Henry, we're going to have to, or I'm going to have to add in like 100 for everything. I'm just disappointed, Sophie, that it's so annoying that you get nothing different for gifting 5 subs, which is annoying to me, but oh well. Yeah, that is an unusual comment. But yeah, thankfully I'm T1D and we won't have I don't care if you use a Zempic. He's just a very odd guy. A very odd character. Connor, yeah, you got mentioned, but I realized you got the blue Kunzla Bubu. So yeah, you're an OG. It's really crazy. Wait, Terra Trove Tales. Have you got a red Labubu? You should have a red Labubu. I don't know though. I'll have to look into it. Oh, now all of this comments deleted, messages got deleted, which I didn't want to happen. So, because they've been in here a long time. Why did you delete that message? That message was funny. I think he was talking about me. But yeah. But anyway, yes, you do. Okay, cool. Yeah, but no, so this guy was Afghan, probably Afghan poppy heroin smuggling. Probably was. Wouldn't be surprising if he was. But, you know, apparently he was the victim of vicious politics. In meetings with the Afghan president, Hamid Karzai, including a 2006 session with former US ambassador to Afghanistan, Ronald E. Newman, the CIA station chief and their British counterparts, American officials talked about the rumors in hopes that the president might move his brother out of the country, blah, 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 blah. So apparently, the New York Times reported that Ahmed Wali Karzai received payments from the CIA, unsurprising, for a variety of services, including the recruitment of the Kandahar Strike Force, an Afghan paramilitary force run by the CIA in the Kandahar region. It also stated that he was paid for allowing US Special Forces to rent former residence of Taliban Supreme Leader Mullah Omar. However, Karzai has denied taking any payments from the CIA. US Senator John Kerry. John Kerry is a really trustworthy and amazing guy. The reason that I say that he's an amazing guy is because he said that Abdel Fattah el-Sisi had restored democracy to Egypt. So I'm going to say it here. I trust this guy wholeheartedly. But yeah, and then this guy, so like most likely had CIA connections, but then he got assassinated. So he was smoked, but the Kandahar Strike Force, I want to learn more about. I bet if there's a spike in anything, it's like Kandahar Strike Force. There's little reporting about their actual war crimes, which is probably just a product of people not knowing shit about Afghanistan, to be honest.
During Operation Dragon Strike,
God, there's this guy who I absolutely hate.
The 101st Airborne pushed into Taliban territory.
I hate this guy. He's probably mourning his friends dying today.
Yeah. Does that
Kandahar Strike Force. I'm trying to find out about the Kandahar Strike Force, and for some reason it's just advertising me with like Marvel Strike Force and stuff. I can't find shit about this. There's some weird ass YouTube videos. War crimes. So, I mean, this is probably the closest we're going to get without reading about it, like, deeply. They've shot many like this. Abusive night raids backed by CIA-based Afghan strike forces from Human Rights Watch, which just talks about Like, wait, actually, here's some examples, because I thought it was just going to be a long article explaining stuff. In March 2008, Afghan paramilitary forces raided the home of a staff member of an NGO, an Afghan NGO. The forces arrived later at night at the family compound and separated the women from the men. They signaled out the staff member's brother and took him to another part of the house. They shot him, leaving the body, and left with another male family member, whom the government later denied holding. In October, an Afghan paramilitary force raided a home in the Rodat district of Nangarhar province, shooting dead 5 civilian members of one family, including an elderly woman and a child. In December 2018, the Khost Protection Force fatally shot 6 civilians during a night search raid in Paktia province. They shot Naeem Faruqi, a 60-year-old tribal elder and provincial peace council member, in the eye, and his nephew, a student in his 20s, in the mouth. I know this isn't necessarily the same one, but it's horrifying. I will not say what I think about John Kerry. That's how you get a Barry Weiss endorsed a drone strike on your house. So he was apparently in a 0 unit? Fucking hell. My God, this is testing my knowledge of Afghanistan, which is minor, because Afghanistan's in this really odd place, because it kind of is, like, Middle East, and it played a big role in the Middle East like 10 years ago, but also it kind of sits in a position of like, is it the Middle East? You know, kind of like how some people view Iran. The 0 units were exclusively composed of Afghan nationals and operated under the umbrella. Sorry, I'll make the chat smaller. It is actually, I hope you guys think the chat is much better like this. But yeah, I mean, also, by the way, typical CIA-backed raiders. We make people commit war crimes for us. And I mean, these people bear agency and still committing war crimes, by the way. Like, they're bad people, generally. And there are plenty of people all around the world who do just like fucking killing people. Like, I don't think that that's a big secret. I don't think we need to, like, make excuses for killers. But the like, comical aspect or the most ridiculous aspect is that we kind of just then bring people over whose only option is to come here because of how, like, disastrous the American withdrawal was, which, by the way, began under Trump. Trump began that withdrawal and basically just handed it over to the Taliban. Yes, Biden finished it, and the most disastrous aspect undeniably occurred under Biden, but it's not like, you know, this, like, insane thing. But I've been reiterating this point because I think much more than, like, frankly, I can't tell you about the conspiracy. I can't tell you if this was a false flag attack. I cannot tell you that, and no one can tell you that. And don't expect that people can know, and that just because of their confidence that they mean that they're more willing to say something than I am. The truth is that the way in which I talk about Palestine and on the internet and all of these things is that I've always based it in research and facts and doing this. I can't tell you it's a false flag, but what I can tell you is that there is definitely something interesting here in America's relationship with how they used people in death squads in Afghanistan and then also brought them over. And that's kind of like, you know, there was this consequence of people like engaging in violent attacks. Mind from colonialism from the West. Exactly. There are many people who had broken minds from it, and maybe he had PTSD, maybe he had all of these things, maybe he harbored resentment that his dreams were just not met over here, that what he was expected and the sacrifices and crimes he committed, because it's pretty hard to get away from your war crimes. Even Israeli soldiers who enjoy the fuck out of what they're doing find it hard to escape their war crimes mentally. But yeah, the badge carries the word Firebase Gecko, which was the name of a base used by the CIA and special forces in Kandahar in southern Afghanistan, inside what was previously the compound of the Taliban's founding leader, Mullah Muhammad Omar. I actually knew someone with the same name, and they were a really nice guy. Really, really liked them. The badge also carried the... here we go. CBS News has not independently verified the authenticity of the ID badge shown in the photos, but CIA Director John Ratcliffe said the suspect had previously worked with the US government, including CIA as a member of a partner force in Kandahar. Also, by the way, just thinking and spitballing, maybe I sound stupid, wouldn't it make more sense if wouldn't it make more sense to not use a CIA guy to carry out a shooting which may not have even killed the people? Because, like, if it's like, oh, we needed an expert with a gun, then surely you would just expect 2 clean kills. But, yeah. Wait, has he killed? No, these look like different stories. A former senior Afghan general under that... Oh, sorry, 0 units were comprised exclusively of Afghan nationals. I think we read that already. A former senior Afghan general under that previous government told CBS News on Thursday that the 03 unit, also known as the Kandahar Strike Force, was under Special Forces Directorate of the NDS, the National Directorate of Security. They were the most active and professional forces trained and equipped by the CIA. All their operations were conducted under the CIA command. And also, thank you for saying I'm an evergreen teen. It is because the main issue is that I have nice hair and I probably won't lose it anytime soon, thankfully, because it's so fucking thick and male pattern baldness ain't running in my family at the moment. But yeah. Biggest thing to remember, mainstream media is a revolving door of the State Department. A lot of the talking heads you see are working for, have worked for it. Keep that in mind when you listen. Yeah, definitely. And I just think, to me, it's like we really have to focus on the fact of, like, how, you know, we really have to focus on the fact of, like, why this happened and, like, what we can actually glean from it rather than just leaping straight to conspiracy theories. Because that's inexplicable shit, which is like, what the hell, this guy who was, like, associated with the CIA was doing a shooting. But yeah. I'm glad you like the new chat, by the way. Babyface, yeah, maybe. Also, thank you for everyone who's donated and supported today. Chris is trying to jinx himself. Oh, don't even say that, Marcus. Don't even say that. You're a Harry Potter, Chris. Thank you. I don't know if you mean that nicely, but I like it. The units were known in Afghanistan for their secrecy and alleged brutality, and members were implicated in numerous extrajudicial killings of civilians, particularly during night raids. They were considered by the US and its international partners to be among the most trusted domestic forces in Afghanistan. Like, yeah, also, this is just a problem even amongst American veterans who do, like, violence against their wives, and Israeli ones. They're like domestic abuse rates are incredibly high in that country. You have a demonically youthful laugh and a youthful spirit. Thank you. Oh yeah, I really want to look at the Fort Bragg cartel. That's Seth Harper, isn't it? He seems like an interesting guy. I've heard him on TrueAnon a couple of times. There was no immediate reaction from Afghanistan's current government, the Taliban. What do you think the Taliban are going to say? Like, we're so sorry about what happened. Send them back so we can kill them all. Like, what do you think we want a response from the Taliban about? And officials in Kabul did not respond to CBS News' request for comment on the arrest in Washington. As a member of a 0 unit, the suspect would have been virtually guaranteed a roll to asylum in the US because members of these elite units were high on the list of Tabalian, I just recalled them, Taliban retaliation after the group retook control of their country. Many members of these units played key roles in the August 2021 evacuation from Kabul in return for a guarantee of space on a flight for themselves and their families out of Afghanistan. Jesus Christ. Yeah, what a crazy story. And we'll wonder where it goes. It'll probably just be used for a bigger crackdown on immigrants, you know. More than the Charlie Kirk one was. And it definitely looks like he was a CIA person. Also, Alex Jones has chimed in. General, 2 weeks ago, General Flynn predicted on my show that elements of the CIA would activate Islamic sleeper cells in the U.S. in the incoming months.
2 weeks ago, on my syndicated broadcast, General Flynn, the former head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, predicted that in the coming months, or even weeks, the deep state CIA elements, ally of the Democratic Party.
Okay, I feel like this will get me banned on YouTube, so probably shouldn't watch that. But yeah, crazy stuff. Hold on, let me just read what you just put in chat. Chris confirms he was in MK Ultra. Yeah, I was in MK Ultra. Are there any real examples of confirmed false flag attacks within the past 5 years or so? I feel it's just functionally an incredibly difficult thing to get away with nowadays, with how connected and how much info is available on the internet. Yeah, one of the things is that, like, you can easily find out, like, a vast wealth of information about people on their Facebook pages. Like, I think that there are some interesting things about the DC shooters of Trump. Like, those are quite weird, especially that, like, you know, there was, like, some things about them. But ultimately, like, I just really don't believe it's unbelievable that there are people who try and shoot Donald Trump. There are people who have been doing crazy things, and I feel like we've only been getting more crazier because of the shit that's available to us. By the way, look, I now can flip between my things. I can now flip between my things. Look at this. Oh, I want my camera on top. It's there. I want my full camera. It's there. Hide camera. It's gone. Full camera. You guys can't stop me. But yeah, there's just crazier and crazier things happening in the world. But yeah, I don't know. And yeah, once again, thank you to Henry for that. But I think it's like, how do we really know what's going to happen? And false flag attacks, I probably do happen in context. Like someone said, they happen in Turkey. And it doesn't surprise me when they do it in foreign countries. They used to do... Actually, Henry, I think that there's probably something wrong in that, which is like... I even know of a case. During the... like when they were invading Iran, one of the things that they do is they'd get the CIA to pose as leftists, and then the CIA would carry out like an attack on a religious figure. And the reason they did this was to like crack the base of Mossadegh and turn the Islamic community and like the Islamic politicians against Mossadegh, because they'd have like these CIA communists harassing these people. So it's really interesting. So those false flags do happen. But yeah, ask AI about known false flags. Surprisingly, I won't be asking AI about that. But like, they do happen, definitely. But I guess it's in the US, it's really hard to know. I was doing the ISO speedy face. That's not how he talks at all. Okay, guys, I'm going to end it there. So as I've said, thank you to Henry for setting this all up. I'll be live again tomorrow. No, I won't be live tomorrow. I'll be live again on Saturday, because tomorrow I'm recording my first episode of the podcast with Isaac, which I'm really looking forward to, and I hope you guys all enjoy. There'll be a VOD up probably soon about about Israel and Lebanon from the other day's stream, from Tuesday's stream, and I think I'll try and get a VOD out of this. I'll have to ask Ethan's Basement to edit out a lot of crap. But yeah, like, I do think false flags happen. Like, I think it is worth saying that there are actually... I know what you're saying, Henry, and within the imperialist core, I know what you mean. The YouTube channel has been put in multiple times by Trevor Chales, which is, you know, which is doing a great job. Thank you all, as always. There's one thing I wanted to say. Oh yeah, and also, look at the false flag of the Suez Crisis in the 1960s. But yeah, have a great day. See you all later. Thank you all, as always. There's one thing I wanted to say. Oh yeah, and also, look at the false flag of the Suez Crisis in the 1960s. But yeah, have a great day. See you all